characteristics very evident with Kansas Speedway is multiple grooves. Drivers already on the first lap running right up against the wall and on the apron.
Jeff Gordon and Martin Truex Jr. got tied up coming off turn 2. They both had to lift, and that allowed Denny Hamlin to get a big run past both of them down the back straightaway.
Brad Keselowski already with a half a second lead. The battle for second between Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. Kyle Busch in the 18 on the bottom of the track. Carl Edwards in the 19 on the top. Those two are teammates as they have the 4 of Kevin Harvick running just behind him. And Harvick able to clear the 18 of Kyle Busch. He takes third away. Kyle Busch drops back to 4th.
And that was the perfect example of the multiple grooves. The 4th Kevin Harvick would have been stuck behind the 18 on a single groove racetrack, but he was able to run that middle lane and wanted to carry the momentum, and the momentum continues as he's closed in on the back of Carl Edwards in the 19.
Can two cars work together at a track like Kansas to try to catch up to the 2 of Brad Keselowski?
Well, I think they can work together because if you get behind somebody and actually push them down the straightaway, that can propel you and that car past the one that you're trying to pass. So, you know, you get hurt behind a car in the corner, but on the straightaway, you can actually push somebody. It would help you.
And I don't think helping, though, is part of Kevin Harvick's plan. He wants to go to the front himself. And Carl Edwards really almost missed the bottom there in 3 and 4. He was 2 or 3 feet off the white line. That's all Kevin Harvick needed. There's a little bit of fresh air in that left front fender, and he's gone.
Kevin Harvick in the Budweiser Chevrolet has taken second away from Carl Edwards. Edwards drops back to 3rd. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, the top 5.
I tell you, the car is coming. It's Joey Logano. He's picked up 8 spots already. He's way up against the wall, passing guys on the outside. So he's been very aggressive. The one guy in the race that can be extremely aggressive today, they already know they're in the chase or they're in the next round. He can go for it, and he's doing it right now.
And this is a perfect example of how he does it, though. When Joey Logano gets down into the corner, he backs up the corner entry. You see him up there on the top against the wall. Gives up a little bit of speed on entry, but watch how much more speed he carries on corner exit than Denny Hamlin in the 11. They're never going to stay side by side, and he easily clears him down the backstretch.
Side by side, the 20 of Matt Kenseth and the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Kenseth running the low line, has the advantage. Will take the position away from the 78. Ryan Blaney's in that 21, chasing after the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Wood brothers fielding the 21 car for years and years, since the inception of NASCAR. And now a young driver, Ryan Blaney, just 21 years old out of High Point, North Carolina. And Blaney running in the top 10, running 7th. He's behind him. The 78 continues to drop back. Martin Truex Jr. trying to hold his position as the 24 of Jeff Gordon closing in. 41 of Kurt Busch just in front of Martin Truex Jr.
See Jeff Gordon in 11th. He started the race in 6th position, so he's lost 5 spots on this early start. So that's not the direction they want to be heading in.
I'm a little just confused by this, though, Jeff. The 22 is running the top of the racetrack and making ground, currently plus 9 positions, yet he's the only guy I see at the top of the racetrack. You would think the spotters would be chatting that up, explaining to their drivers, listen, Joey Logano's up there. He's making time. I don't see even other cars trying to run right up against in that 3rd group. Kyle Busch is up a lane of the racetrack, but look how high Joey Logano is. That's a completely different lane.
Field starting to spread out now. Some drivers moving toward the front early, some falling back.
The one thing about the 22, though, needs to be careful, as we talked about how hard this track is on these Goodyear tires. Goodyear brings a very durable tire, but when the mid-corner speeds are this high, you have to, as a driver, pay attention to that and take care of him. Well, if he's the only guy running the top, Jeff, he's kind of blazing his own trail, putting down his own rubber.
That's right, and when you don't have all that rubber on the racetrack, that means the track is more abrasive up there, so you're actually eating the tire off. So you have to be careful early in a race running that very high groove, because it can lead to excessive tire wear.
You mentioned the word lead. That is what. But Kevin Harvick, we're hearing, may have an issue. Kelly?
Yeah, Kevin quickly made his way from 4th place to 4th, but he's come over the radio a couple times reporting a possible issue.
It's going to blow up. There's vibration. They said all the wheels were torqued before the race. Doing okay. Timmy said it sounds okay from his side. Crazy vibration.
So you just heard crew chief Rodney Childers saying that it sounds okay, but the crew down here definitely sprung to life as soon as Kevin came over the radio.
And Rick, here's really the problem. Until the first pit stop and you can change tires. Other than tires, there's very little to nothing you can change during the race. Kevin Harvick, Rodney Childers going to see if new tires fixes the vibration. But Harvick, being a veteran behind the wheel, I think he knows the difference between a wheel and a driveline. If it's a driveline issue, you really just hope it's something like an out-of-balance drive shaft or something in the transmission that can somehow stay together for all 400 days.
Even if it is something like it is something that it itself won't break, sometimes those vibrations can cause something else to break. So we just started this race, a 400-mile, 249 or 267 laps. If something vibrates all day long, it can break something that's not causing the problem.
We've seen it with shifters, and I know that you have been a part of that, Steve, with drivers. Your driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr. from a year ago. We've seen it with Jimmy Johnson, also that vibration causing the shifter handles to break off.
You never asked me about my good stuff.
That's not true. We celebrate your good
No,
things.
but you're right. Shifter handles. I've seen mirrors crack, fall off the actual mounts. So many things go up. Plus, when a car's vibrating, it's hard for the driver to feel the tires as well, Jeff, right? Doesn't it take away some of your feel?
Takes away a lot of the feel, and it's so important for the driver's feel. That's who's giving the information to the team. How does this car need to be better? What do we need to do? Where are we getting beaten? Why? All that information is how the crew chiefs make changes on these cars. So when you add that vibration, it's very difficult for the driver to get that feel.
20 laps in, let's go to pit road for some reports. Marty?
Rick, Brad Keselowski started first. He is still first. Led every lap of this race so far. The car started tight for Brad Keselowski, but it's built loose the longer he's run. And he's actually adjusting the track bar inside the car. That's something the driver can reach over and do to try and help the handling of the race car. His teammate locked himself in last week in Joey Logano. Brad Keselowski trying to follow suit today, Dave.
Marty, several drivers in this race were in yesterday's Xfinity Series race at this track, 300 miles worth. Carl Edwards was not, so he checked with his spotter, Jason Hedleski, who stands above the raceway looking out for Carl. Are they moving to the high? Did they move to the high line yesterday? And they got a feel that, yes, they did all throughout the day. Carl will be working there as he is now, Kelly.
Busch in the 41 car, qualified 9th. He's up to 7th now. When I talked to his crew chief, Tony Gibson, he said, I think we're okay. We're probably a 6th to 10th place car. He said it drives pretty well. For some reason, we just don't have the raw speed. Kurt came over the radio moments ago to say he's got plenty of turn in the front and a little loose in the back. Mike?
You know, Kelly, back in the spring, Denny Hamlin struggled here at Kansas. In fact, he crashed so much. In fact, they've made significant changes to the setup. His crew chief, Dave Rogers, told me there's absolutely no spring or shock on this car. That's the same as it was back in the spring. Has it made a difference? It appears to be the case. He's able to run the bottom line, as you see there, although he still says he would like a little bit more stability when he runs high. They're also going to try to tighten him up in the center of the corner when they come down pit road. Rick?
Thank you, Mike. Brad Keselowski out front has about a 1.5 second lead over Kevin Harvick, who might be dealing with a vibration on the wheel of the 4. Still turning laps over 30 seconds here at Kansas.
Going to Kansas City, Kansas City, yeah.
Today,
New leader in the 4 of Kevin Harvick, but that is the 26 of J.J. Yaley from Phoenix, Arizona, that has brought out the first caution as he got up into the wall. One of the questions I think a lot of the teams had.
You got a hole right here if you want to come down.
It's
leaking water. It's leaking water.
Is the pressure that these cars put on the right front tire. Going these speeds on this racetrack, we've seen right front tires blow before here at Kansas.
and it's continuous speed. You know, a lot of racetracks I go to, they drop the green flag on a restart, and you take off and you are really fast and you slow down. At this racetrack, you really don't slow down. So it's just that continual pressure on the tires.
Take a look up against the wall already. You see the 26 of J.J. Yaley, and he's riding the wall. The day ends quickly for J.J. Yaley.
Got into the wall with him.
New race leader is Kevin Harvick, after saying to his crew earlier that he felt a vibration. He was able to get by the two of Brad Keselowski, and here they come onto pit road. Mike?
And Matt Kenseth coming down pit road saying he's tight in traffic, but overall pretty good with the race car at this moment. They got to work on the right side. They're going to try to free him up with a little bit of an air pressure adjustment. A 4-tire change for Kenseth. Kelly?
The see Kevin Harvick, he reported that vibration, but then he said it must have been the splitter because the balance is really good. There was a debate, 2 or 4. You see it's 2 tires for Kevin Harvick, Marty.
Brad Keselowski went from the lead to third. Kelly, at the last few laps of that run, free in, tight center, free off, an air pressure adjustment to help that center of the corner, Dave.
The 4 Goodyear tires that went on Joey Logano's car had an air pressure adjustment made. The car was a little bit loose entering the corners. He will be 4th off pit road, Rick.
And already pit strategy playing as we look at the race off pit road. Brought to you by Geico. Harvick, Truex Jr. taking 2 tires only. Early on, it's the 4 that's flying here at Kansas Speedway. Kevin Harvick, the race leader. You can get your news, results, and highlights delivered straight to your inbox. Subscribe to the free official NASCAR newsletter at NASCAR.com/newsletter. The 26 of J.J. Yaley put a little fluid down at the top of the racetrack, so they will continue to clean that up. The 4 of Kevin Harvick complaining about a vibration early. Thought something was either going to burst with a tire, maybe something with the engine, drive line. This is what they had to say on the radio just moments ago.
The wheel weight had spun around. 10-4.
So basically, Rick, what happens is just like your street car tire, these race car tires need to be balanced. The harmonics need to be correct. Well, how do they balance them is Goodyear, after they put it on the balancer, it'll tell them where it needs some weight. It'll basically, it's a clip-on wheel weight that gets hammered on the lip of the wheel. Well, the tire specialists, they mark those weights because what happens is, A, sometimes they fall off. This one didn't fall off. What it will actually do is under these unbelievable loads these cars are, the tires can either spin on the wheel or just the weight itself cannot be clipped on real tight, and it can vibrate around and be, say, 180 degrees off. So now you have, instead of that weight helping the balance of the tire, it's the exact opposite place, making it much worse. That's what Ronnie Childers was telling Kevin Harvick. We'll go back green here in a minute and see if it fixed it.
And that weight may only weigh an ounce or 2 ounces, but at 200 miles an hour, that makes a big difference.
33 laps complete to the Hollywood Casino. 400. Kevin Harvick in front. Getting ready for the first restart from Kansas Speedway, and the restart zone here at Kansas also has been expanded. It was 90 feet. It's now 180 feet. They haven't put the lines all the way across the track, so we will do that. We're superimposing the red lines across the track to let you know where the restart zone is. The control car, which is Kevin Harvick, he has the opportunity to restart this race in between those 2 lines. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr. making up row number 1, pace car, making its way onto pit road. 2 by 2 behind Harvick and Truex Jr. Green flag back in the air. We're back underway.
I'm a little surprised after seeing where the speed time went down that Kevin Harvick chose the outside lane. We talked that there perhaps could be a little bit of, stain or fluid up there, but it looks like there's a ton of grip. He's carrying a lot of momentum here off turn 2.
They stay 2 by 2 for the lead. Harvick on the outside. Martin Truex Jr. on the inside. The 78 down right up against the white line as that 4 runs the middle line through 3 and 4.
Now, as odd as this is going to sound, Rick, taking right side tires actually help these cars for a couple laps. With the warmer left side tires, there's going to be instant grip. The cars behind them with 4 fresh tires, they have to wait for those left side tires to heat up to gain grip to be able to go. That's a unique characteristic of this tire in Kansas.
You saw when Kevin Harvick drove into turn 1, it looked like a puff of smoke came out of the race car. That was the oil dry on the racetrack. It was just a little bit. He ran right through it. So that was not a problem with the car. It's just a little bit of that oil dry on the racetrack.
Yeah, just a little residue. They bring a jet dryer in and they try to blow off all of that or vacuum it up with other trucks. But there's still a little bit of residue that's still on the track that these cars have been kicking up. And now Kevin Harvick checking out on the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Joey Logano runs 3rd. Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski the top 5. Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson, and Ryan Blaney are the top 10.
So this is the great question. What do you do when you drive into turn 1 when all that oil dries on the racetrack? You saw Joey Logano. He went way to the top in 3 and 4. Is he going to have the nerve to do that in 1 and 2 when the racetrack still has some of that speedy dry on it? So let's see what his decision is. He's going back to the bottom. He wants somebody else to be the first one up there.
Right to the bottom of the track for the 78 and the 22.
You saw how much gain of a gain. Martin Truex Jr. got there. That is a great example of protecting your position. He rolled in, got to the bottom of the racetrack, as he's doing again here in 3 and 4, shutting that air off to Joey Logano. You look behind them, you have Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards in the 19, Brad Keselowski in the 2, and Kurt Busch in the 41, all looking for clean air in their own lanes through these race corners.
Take a look back at the 55 and 1 just moments ago.
Yeah, these restarts are crazy. You see 3 wide, David Reagan in the middle, Jamie Murray on the top. They're into the corner. 55 gets really loose, has to chase it up the racetrack, and that's a product of aerodynamics. At 55, in the middle of those 2 cars, all the air is being pulled off of his car. The air just isn't directed onto your car to make the downforce when you're in the middle. So that is not the position you want to be in, because it just takes your car completely out of the racetrack, loses all the grip.
The first caution that came out for J.J. Yaley gave one driver the advantage of the free pass. That was Cole Witt in the 35 that got the free pass. He was scored a lap down. He was the highest scored car 1 lap down. So he got back on the lead lap. Now there are 36 cars on the lead lap. That will become very important as the race progresses, especially for the chase drivers. Every position on the track is worth 1 point. And when you only have 2 races remaining in this second round to advance into the 3rd round of the championships, you're trying to gain as many points as you possibly can.
This 22, he continues to work the top of the racetrack in 3 and 4. You see this momentum he's going to have. But Martin Truex, he knows he wants the bottom 1 and 2. He gives the 22 the outside lane. But then down here, the 22, as you mentioned, Jeff, he doesn't go all the way to the top. He runs the middle of the racetrack. He's yet to venture up to that area where the speed drive was put down on the right there. That was an impressive run through the middle of 1 and 2.
22 of Joey Logano takes the 2nd position away from Martin Truex Jr. Kevin Harvick still has a little over a 2nd lead over Joey Logano. Dave?
Rick, during that first run, you saw the 22 of Logano come from 14th starting position all the way to 2nd by the time the caution was waived. Most of that work was done on the high line, and his crew chief, Todd Gordon, told me this morning that's one of the things that Joey understands very well about this racetrack. The offset, he called it, between practice and race time. Because when you practice, you don't practice the high line. You don't get to do that until the race. So understanding what your car needs come race time to run that high line, there he is again, is a very important factor, and Joey gets it.
Joey Logano, car on the move, trying to close the gap between he and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, the car behind him, I've been watching Matt Kenseth. You know, Matt Kenseth has worked himself back up to 3rd position, and you know, of all the cars that are here, Matt Kenseth is probably the team and car driver that feel like they need to win this race. You look at the running order right now, you know, he is so many points back because of the wrecks he was in last week. The lowest running chase contender is an 18th. So everybody you're racing in the top 18, that's who they are. You're not going to, with that many points out, you're not going to point race your way back into this chase. You're going to have to find a way to win one of these 2 races. So Matt Kenseth and his team, they have, in my opinion, they need to win this race more than anyone else at the racetrack.
You mentioned Matt Kenseth, the man on the move. How about Joey Logano? He has closed the gap now all over the back bumper of the 4 of Kevin Harvick for the lead. Logano running the higher line. We'll see if that prevails here at Kansas. He has the momentum as they come out of turn number 4. It looks as though Harvick's going to give him the high line. Logano will take the lead away from Harvick.
So are we seeing a better race car right here or better tires? Remember, Joey Logano put on 4 tires at the pit stop. Kevin Harvick decided to take right side tires. I believe right side tires was the call. I was shocked to see only the 78 and the 4 take 2 tires. Now perhaps these crew chiefs are all taking notes because Joey Logano, really, and Matt Kenseth are the fastest 2 cars on the racetrack with those 4 tires.
They're doing it 2 completely different ways. Matt Kenseth has been glued right on the bottom of the racetrack. Matt likes to run the bottom of the racetrack. Joey Logano, he's much, much higher. So 2 cars running almost the same speed, but the drivers are driving them 2 completely different ways.
You know, you mentioned, Jeff, about not wanting to run the top of 1 and 2. As you see Matt Kenseth looking underneath Kevin Harvick. Definitely has a faster race car. I think he's going to easily compete for class going down to turn 3. Harvick's going to fight back, but it seems like Kenseth is really rolling the bottom.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the top of turns 1 and 2 and how Joey Logano didn't want to go there. He wanted somebody else to figure it out. Well, Jamie McMurray went right up to the top. You see the dust and the debris coming off the race car. The car loses grip. Up into the wall he goes. That is the concern. You see right here on board with him. He lifts real early. Got to run the top. You have to commit back to the gas. But you see right here, just there's no grip. He gets to that dirty area on the racetrack, into the wall he goes.
And continues on as we see Kurt Busch now in the 41 trying to get by the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski, after leading the first 28 laps of this race, has fallen back to 6th. Kurt Busch took 5th away from him. Joey Logano has a 1-second lead now over Matt Kenseth running 2nd. Devin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kurt Busch the top 5.
Jimmy Johnson and his team not being part of the championship battle, this early in the chase, but he and his team, they still have a lot to race for. They can win races, and a lot of people don't know this, but they can still finish 5th in points. The top 4 going into Homestead, the top 4 is based out of those last 4, but everybody else that made the chase, they can race themselves up into as high as 5th in points.
Yeah, the top 4 positions will be determined at the last race of the season at Homestead. So wherever they finish, whoever finishes in front of everyone else is the champion. They don't have to win the race. They just have to finish in front of the other 3. But then the other 16 drivers, or the other 12 as it be, they're all fighting for points, just like they would in a normal season. And they want that 5th position. That's the highest they can finish through points by not being in the championship hunt when they come to Homestead.
Exactly. Just because Jimmy Johnson and his team are eliminated in the first round, that does not mean that they can't finish 5th. They can finish as high as 5th.
Kelly.
I actually asked crew chief Chad Knaus about that, and he said, look, finishing top 5 in points is still a really big accomplishment. We got to race hard for our fans, for our sponsors. It's just what you do as professionals. We've had a couple of rough years, but a top 5 in points would certainly be a big accomplishment. Right now, Jimmy's saying his car is getting free into turn 3. He's a little bit snug through the center, Mike.
Around goes the 14 of Tony Stewart. And the caution will come out. Doesn't look like a lot of damage to the car.
No, just some flat tires. He's going to have to be careful bringing that car back to pit road. Go as slow as he can to not let those tires tear apart and tear some fenders up.
He's already gone a lap down. The leader went by him throughout that spin. So the key now is just, as you said, don't make this any worse. Do not damage the car. You're already gone a lap down. You probably won't go 2. Just be careful, be smooth, be slow.
Again.
And you heard him say driver error again. Take a look at what happened.
It's on the bottom of the racetrack. He's nowhere near that speedy drive we've been talking about. Just gets loose. Car never quite spins all the way around. Well, maybe he does. I think it just gets still wide open in the throttle. You can see it get completely sideways, but in today's cars, years ago that car would have spun all the way around, but today's cars, they make so much side force, meaning the air blowing on the side of the car, it's hard to get them to spin all the way around. So no damage to the car, but 4 flat tires.
So the 14 making his way onto pit road. Watch a live stream of every Sprint Cup Series race, combined with additional camera angles, interactive driver stats, track information with NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptop or tablet, smartphone, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra brings you closer to every race. We brought you closer right there to the spin from Tony Stewart, which brings out the second caution. Pit road is closed, and so they will go around one more time before the crew chiefs have to make the decision as to what they will do. Matt DiBenedetto will be receiving the free pass. Each caution, the driver that has scored highest of the lap down drivers is eligible for the free pass if they don't bring out the caution. 24 of Jeff Gordon in his final start here from Kansas had this to say on the radio just moments ago.
Everybody around me, they just blasted down in there and like it's got tons of grip. I don't know where they're finding it at because I can't find it. That's what.
Grip at a premium in Kansas when you're entering turn 1 and turn 3 at about 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, when makes the situation for Jeff Wirtz, as he's not awful. He's definitely not running where he wants. He's in the 19th position. His teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the 17th. But if you want to look for the rest of the chasers, you have to look in front of them. All the chase cars are basically 12 on up, other than him, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And when you look at the grid and where they're currently running, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is definitely in trouble. Matt Kenseth has recovered a little bit, but still has a ways to go. But in Jeff's current position, that puts him below the cut line.
When the race started, Brad Keselowski was 8th. Currently 6th as they run. But as you mentioned, no driver in the chase wants to go into Talladega having to win. A year ago, Brad Keselowski was in that position and amazingly was able to get to victory lane and win at Talladega to continue to advance. His pit road is now open, and they're on their way to you, Mike.
Matt Kenseth from the second position on the racetrack comes down pit road. He's been saying the car has been a little bit ill, a little bit loose, I should say, in traffic. And they're going to try to tighten him up here with an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires. Kelly?
Jimmy Johnson has gone from 21st to 4th. He said he snuck through the center, both and good up top. It's going to be a 4-tire change for him. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick said he was just way too loose that time around. 4 Goodyear tires and a wedge adjustment, Dave.
Lower right, leader Logano, 4 Goodyear tires, a Phillips Sunoco fuel, and a slight chassis adjustment for a car that's a little snug in the center, albeit very fast.
Carl Edwards won the race off of pit road. Brad Keselowski second. We're going to tell you why that's so important when we return. Welcome back to the Hollywood Casino 400. Get the ultimate pass to every moment of today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race with Race Buddy. Ride along with different drivers through multiple HD feeds and follow the race action with a live leaderboard. Tune in at NASCAR.com/Race Buddy. As I mentioned, the race off of pit road was won by Carl Edwards with a 2-tire stop. He beat Brad Keselowski off of pit road, also with 2 tires. Well, Brad Keselowski won the pole on Friday. Normally, the pole winner will choose the best stall, which is pit stall number 1. Well, that's where Carl Edwards is, and he was the second best in qualifying. But the reason Brad Keselowski wasn't able to choose pit stall number 1 is he had 4 written warnings from NASCAR. Once you accumulate 4, you lose your ability to choose your pit stall in relation to where you qualify. Was that a big deal on that pit stop there?
I don't think on this pit stop it was, because the 19 beat the 2 out really easily. But as this race develops, that first pit stall is a big advantage because you have such a shorter distance to go to the end of pit road. So the penalty for Brad Keselowski ended up being a huge gain for Carl Edwards, and that can make a difference as this race winds down.
And I'm waiting to see these 4 cars. It looked a minute ago that Kevin Harvick and the 78 maybe weren't the best on 2 tires. Now we have 4 cars that decide to take 2 tires. We'll have to see how they end up.
Carl Edwards, the control car on the inside. Brad Keselowski on the outside. And we're back to racing in Kansas. Another clean restart for the field and a good restart for Carl Edwards. Ryan Blaney in the 21, also an excellent restart as he moves up to second. Matt Kenseth moves to third. Keselowski, who started on the front row, all the way back, fighting for 4th now.
I know Ryan Blaney, young driver, sitting there looking at Carl Edwards, one of the sport's greatest drivers. You know he wants to pass him to take the lead, as Matt Kenseth's trying to take it from Blaney.
And as he was watching Carl Edwards in front of him, Kenseth makes the move to the inside. He'll take second away.
Unbelievable learning curve. Think about this experience, though. This 21 of Ryan Blaney, young man, running a partial schedule, learning more about these racetracks, these types of race cars, racing with Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski. This is, class is in right now. I mean, he's holding his own and doing a great job, but every little move he gets shown, he's learning more that he can apply.
Yeah, those drivers you mentioned, they're all champions of this sport. And now, the 20, making the move on the outside. Matt Kenseth takes the lead away from his teammate.
I'm a little surprised to see this 4-tire advantage. I just didn't see this coming based on the Xfinity race yesterday, based on practice. I did not see 4 tires being an advantage, but right now it sure looks like you want 4 tires.
The leader, the 20.
New leader, the 20, Matt Kenseth. And here comes the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Harvick gets by the 19 of Carl Edwards. And so Carl Edwards now falling back. The 21, once again, of Ryan Blaney. moving to the inside of the 19. Are they going to be 3 wide? Joey Logano on the outside.
Carl had a problem getting into turn 3. He just had to check up big time and slowed up everybody. They just split him. So he probably got free getting in the corner. He's on 2 tires. We heard that when the 2 tires are put on Kevin Harvick early in the race, he got really loose. So it makes me wonder if also that's what the problem is with him getting in the corner.
Normally when you see smoke at a racetrack, you think that something has happened within the track, but there's a bus that actually caught fire outside of the racetrack, and the smoke has not caused an issue for the competition yet, but just wanted to let you know that if you see the smoke in the background, that's actually a bus that's outside of the racetrack.
Okay.
And that is just as they come out of turn number 4, just behind the grandstands. Now the 48 to the inside of Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson moving to the front. Jimmy Johnson, after starting 21st, continues to move up. He is 6th now as he's gotten by the 19 of Carl Edwards. So has the 41. Carl Edwards continuing to drop back, Dave.
It's not a good trend for him. On the last run, he went from 3rd to 9th. On this run, he's from 1st, dropping back. Obviously, they did not change the left side tires, and Carl just radioed in. I think the left run is done.
And I think that's a good point, that not only is the 19 on 2 tires, but perhaps it's also a car handling issue, because when I look up through the field, Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski, while they're not excelling on 2 tires, they're holding their own. Ryan Blaney is currently 4th. So this 2 tires haven't hurt his car, but if the 19 has a handling issue, maybe it's too tight. I'm assuming tight if the left front is the tire he's complaining about. That's why he has to lift so early to get into the corners. It just doesn't have the momentum.
Battle for second, Joey Logano. Going to the outside by Kevin Harvick. We continue to mention 2 tires versus 4 tires. That's the strategy that some of these teams are employing. If you're saying 2 tires, that means they just took 2 new tires to try to save some time on pit road so that they could get back out in front of their competition.
And history at this racetrack tells you that you don't need 4 tires. All you need is 2 tires. Obviously, if a guy's changing 4 tires on pit road, you're changing 2, you're going to beat them off pit road and gain that track position. So all these teams that have done 2, they're doing that based on history at this racetrack and based on practice, and also yesterday's Xfinity race. But to this point, it hasn't worked like it's worked in the past.
Matt Kenseth out front.
I'll be watching.
Don't get him started, please.
Bob Costas, Dan Patrick, they host Football Night in America. That's tonight, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on NBC. Matt Kenseth has a 1.3-second lead over Joey Logano. Logano locked into the 3rd round with his win at Charlotte a week ago. Kenseth, if he's able to win, he would lock himself into the 3rd round as well and sleep a lot easier as Talladega looms just a week away.
You say Talladega looms. Talladega looms for everyone that doesn't have a win, because if you're behind, you look at Talladega. If Matt Kenseth is not able to win today, but cuts his points down to, say, a 15-point deficit or 20-point deficit, Talladega then is an opportunity for Matt Kenseth, because if it goes bad and 5 chase cars crash, then he can make up a ton of points. Mike, Talladega can be nerve-wracking if you have a cushion, but can be an opportunity if you're on the outside.
Yeah, you know, in fact, I thought it was kind of funny the way Kurt Busch answered the question about the stress going into Talladega. He says a good finish here today would make it less stressful. Didn't say it would eliminate it completely. Now, as far as Kenseth is concerned, he came out of Charlotte. He's at the bottom of the chase grid right now, 32 points below the cutoff line. Now, Kenseth said earlier this week that he doesn't feel like he's in a must-win situation, but his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, has maybe a little bit of a different view on it. He said, mathematically, I know we don't need to win, but in my heart, I feel like we probably need to win one of the next 2 races to advance. They are on all cylinders today, loaded for this race, trying to get to victory lane, and they look good so far, Steve.
Listen, I've said all week, we heard Matt Kenseth talk about it, Dale Earnhardt Jr. talk about it, Kyle Busch talk about it. You don't have to win a race to win the championship, mathematically. But in my opinion, you must win races in the chase. I think when we get to Homestead, to be a championship contender, Rick, you have to be a car that can win, and win when it's a must. And that's really where Matt Kenseth is right now.
And that's what NASCAR has wanted. They want to make sure that winning holds more value. Well, it's time for today's Subway Fresh Take. Let's go to Dave Burns.
Here's the 31 car of Ryan Newman. So far today, that car has not responded. On this stop, he took on right side tires, resumed the race in fourth, has fallen back to the 10th position. But if he's going to be the 2015 champion and even move on to the next round, they've got to get their cars responding to their adjustments. Marty?
Dave, when I asked Dale Earnhardt Jr. last week about this new chase format where drivers are eliminated every 3 races, he said, as a fan, I love it. As a competitor, it is awfully stressful to be in the middle of, especially when you're below the cut line like we are. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been struggling with the car on new tires that just won't go too tight. Greg Ives has worked on the car, made it better. This run much better. They restarted 20th. Now they're in 12th, Mike.
Yeah, and Jeff Gordon, Marty, is going in the wrong direction. He started 6th and has faded beyond the top 20. He's been struggling with the balance of the car throughout the course of the day. They've made several adjustments on pit road. At one point, they put a rubber in the left rear spring. The next time down pit road, they took a rubber out. So they've made significant adjustments, but they haven't really helped Jeff. At one point, he said, hey, we didn't help the front. All we did was disconnect the rear.
Jeff, moments ago, you about jumped out of the booth. What were you looking at?
Kyle Larson, he's a dirt track racer, but watch Kyle Larson right against the wall. Look how loose he is and how loose and how long he's loose. It continues all the way off the corner. So, I mean, that is a round. And that, I mean, normally you get that loose and you're that loose all the way around the corner. When you come off turn 4, you spin out. But he did a great job of maintaining control.
Well, and we've asked Kyle Larson before, you're a dirt track racer. You like to hang the right wheel out, you know, on the dirt tracks. Does that give you an advantage? He said, absolutely not. It doesn't give me an advantage. He said, it scares me to death when the back end does come out on one of these cars because it's not supposed to. Kelly?
Keep your eye on him because Kyle Larson just reported he thought he had a right rear flat. In fact, we were expecting him to come down to pit road. Obviously, they have kept him out there as they continue to monitor him, but that's definitely something to watch for.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if he does have a tire going down, Kelly, because he's backing up. And he got really loose, really had to save the car. But since he's done that, he's continued to back up. So this is a difficult situation for a driver. What do you do? When do you pit? If you pit and there's nothing wrong, well, then you feel terrible. You made a mistake. But if you don't pit and the tire blows out, well, then that was a mistake too. So many times a car will pit, a driver will put a car on pit road, they'll take the tires off, nothing wrong. That happens to you a couple times, then that gets you gun-shy and you don't want to pit.
Riding along with Jeff Gordon, looking back on Kyle Larson, who's running a lot lower line than he was earlier when he was up against the wall. The 2 of Brad Keselowski still in the top 10. He runs 8th. Here's what he had to say on the radio moments ago.
30-30's out back on Dylan. 10 back to him. Needs some 20s to stay in front of him. Yeah, I'm just trying not to back it in the wall here, guys.
As a driver, I'm trying just to not back it in the wall.
So you heard the spotter say he ran a 30-30. Behind him is a 30-20. So a 30-20 is 30 seconds, 0.2 tenths. That's what he needs to run is a 30-20. What he's saying is, I can't run a 30-20. I'm trying to keep from wrecking this thing. If I try to run any quicker, I'm going to back it into the wall. So that's the driver's way of telling the spotter, the crew chief, the team, what he's dealing with.
Marty.
And guys, Brad Keselowski said that tight condition, that's what he's dealing with, is worse in 1 and 2 than it is in 3 and 4. This race team has worked so hard over just the last week. They went directly from Charlotte Motor Speedway after we ran there in the rainout race on Sunday to Phoenix. Tested 3 days there, came straight here to Kansas. So as Brad told me this week, as of today, that's 10 out of 12 days that he's been in the race car. And he said, honestly, at points during that Phoenix test, I was exhausted. Jeff, I'm curious from the driver's standpoint, and Steve, from the team management standpoint, is that good or bad that the driver's in the car that much, or is it possibly a bad thing that they've been there and there too much and don't get enough rest coming into a critical race like Kansas?
It's always a balance between the two. You have to get enough testing time. When NASCAR allows you to go test, you have to take advantage of it because that's how you get better as a driver. That's how you get better as a team. However, if you're worn down, if it wears you out, it's like a basketball team, football team practicing too much. You know, you can practice too much, but the only way to get better in this sport is to try things, and you do that at test.
Kyle Busch looks to get by. Maybe a little bit run down. Number 2, driven by Brad Keselowski. Matt Kenseth out in front after last week struggling. The NASCAR Chase app is the ultimate way to support your driver during the chase for the Sprint Cup. You can customize your favorite driver's nation flag, get help filling out your chase grid, and much, much more. Download it today in the Apple App Store, Google Play, or via NASCAR.com/chase. Welcome back to Hollywood Casino 400. Matt Kenseth out front. Matt has led 34 laps. That's the most of any drivers. Brad Keselowski has led 28. Kevin Harvick 21. Logano has led 17 laps. The 18 of Kyle Busch moments ago talking on the radio about different places to run and how his car is handling. Listen.
Trying to get anything going anywhere but the bottom, and I can't. I'm too loose everywhere. Starts out tight, especially when he's on my right rear tail, just dumping air on my blade. It was made me really tight off the 2 on the start.
And guys, A.J. Allmendinger slow on the track. To further complicate that, Steve, they say that the track bar, which in Kyle Busch is going down on the track bar inside the car, it's actually making the car looser, which is the opposite of what it should do.
47 very slow, down on the apron now, or right near the apron, as he's coming through 3 and 4 and will be making his way onto pit road. But this might be why he got so slow.
Try to get around the 6 on the outside, and obviously got around the 6 and just got really tight leaving the corner and got to the wall. Seems like he's mad at Bain, but I'm not sure did Bain do something wrong?
Well, then right here he hits him a couple times on the front stretch. First he gets him loose, tries to get him, but he's not done. He keeps checking up at the bumper. Finally Bain lifts, lets the 47 go, but
and around goes the 42 of Kyle Larson, and now the caution comes out. Drivers had a difference of opinion with each other. The 42 of Kyle Larson, who thought he might have a right rear tire going down earlier in this run.
I got a flat though.
Spun around and says he has a flat. Looks like the left front is down on the 42. The right side tires look up. The left front looks like it's flat. Running 33rd. Things weren't going well for the 42 team.
So he's in the middle of the corner, and we saw how loose he was, and we showed it at the one replay. Well, it was lap after lap after lap he was that loose, and he finally just couldn't hold on to it anymore.
And Jeff, when we talk about drivers and car control, this young man has it. He can drive a loose race car.
Road again.
He did. It's been a frustrating day for Jeff Gordon, and it just got worse just when the car was feeling a little bit better. Well, the pit stop didn't go very smoothly. They didn't get all the lug nuts tight on the left front tire. Had to come back down pit road and tighten them back up.
This is the advantage of having Jeff Gordon in the race car, though. A veteran of this sport. He's won all his championships over a season-long battle. What that means is he understands that you're never out of it. So with 155 to go, why he hasn't had the start of the race he's looking for, Jeff. When you and I were talking about him a minute ago, you circled the laps to go because you believe that he has that patience. If they can get the car better, he can recover.
Well, that's right. He's smart enough not to get the car in trouble. So, as we talked about before, this is still a point race. I mean, yes, if you win, you advance, but you don't have to win. So, if you're not having a good day, find a way. So we talked about with Larson, Jeff Gordon has it. Find a way to take an 18th place car and get a 12th with it. That's what you've got to do.
You mentioned points. Let's look once again at the race off of pit road. Kenseth, Johnson, who's not in the chase any longer, Logano, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Austin Dillon, another driver not in the chase, or Ryan Blaney not in the chase, all coming off of pit road in the top 10. We have to remember that each spot that those drivers take is a point that one of the chase drivers is not going to get, and each position is worth a point.
Exactly, and here's Matt Kenseth. We talked about him. He's in a hole. He needs to win a race, most likely to advance. Well, guess who he's racing to win this race? He's racing a 6-time champion, Jimmy Johnson, who's already out of the championship. Yep. So, unlike most other sports, if you get eliminated in the playoffs in football, you're done. You're watching the games. In NASCAR, you're still racing, and you can impact what happens in the next round. So, if Jimmy Johnson goes on to win this race, and I know it's still 154 laps to go, and Matt Kenseth finished second, there was an opportunity that Matt Kenseth would not have taken advantage of and moved him into the next round.
Jimmy Johnson, the 40-year-old out of El Cajon, California, running second. He's won at this track 3 times before. You can enter today for your chance to win a 2016 Ford F-150 plus a VIP trip to NASCAR Champions Week in Las Vegas. See the 16 drivers who qualified for the playoffs live on stage at NASCAR After the Lap. Sponsored by Ford and Sprint. To enter, go to NASCARAfterTheLap.com. Kenseth and Johnson making up row one. Kenseth chooses the outside line on the restart. Behind him, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick.
And these restarts, Rick, they've been definitely getting more and more aggressive, not just in the front row, but we mentioned this longer restart zone, how that affects the cars back in the pack. And when you look back row 4, 5, 6, and 7, it's kind of an accordion effect. And back there, we see 2, 3, 4 wide on some of the restarts using the track and the apron here at Kansas.
Coming into the NBC Sports restart zone. Green flag back in the air. Kenseth waiting to the very last moment to get back in the game.
And remember, there's no rule of waiting till you go past the second red line. It's just the rule is if you do wait that long, the flagman starts the race. So if he didn't accelerate till the second line, there's no penalty in that.
And they're side by side for the lead as they go into turn 3. Kenseth able to get in front of the 48. Kenseth leading at Kansas. Jimmy Johnson runs second. Joey Logano. Kevin Harvick fighting for that third spot. Harvick on the outside. Logano on the inside. They continue to stay door to door as they go into turn 3. Logano surges ahead, has the advantage. He'll take third.
We talked about Jimmy Johnson possibly winning a race and knocking someone out. Well, guess what? Joey Logano can do that same thing. If Joey Logano can go win this race and try to put Matt Kenseth in a tough spot, you don't want Matt Kenseth in this chase. He's won 5 races this year. You don't want him in the playoffs going into the next round. So Joey Logano could go win the race. Maybe it pushes who he believes is the championship contender out of this race.
All the drivers in the top 5 as they're running. Champions of the Sprint Cup Series. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch. The only one that's not, Joey Logano. He's running third.
And you see back here a little bit farther in the back, Dale Earnhardt Jr. In 11th, fighting with his teammate Casey Kane. Martin Truex Jr. trying to recover, had 2 tires earlier, lost a little bit of track position. Now with 4 tires, trying to move back up through the field.
We talked about trying to find finishes, even if you don't have a great car. I think that's been Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s strength this year. He's found that this year. He's found a way to get those good finishes, even if they didn't have a winning car. So he came off of Charlotte, with a bad finish. He needs to get that consistency back, and he definitely has the ability to do it. He's done it all year long.
The question is that going to be enough? With the problem at Charlotte is 2 consistent finishes here in Talladega going to be enough when you have so many chasers in front of you running so well?
And that's the reason why they're in championship contention, because week after week, they run well. They run in the top 5, win races.
They did, and where do they win races? They win races into the restrictor plate tracks this year, where we go next week. So this week is obviously a track that he said he's liked, but next week, there's no way they can't have that circled on their calendar. Everyone looks at it as this race that you can't control your own opportunities. You have to use other guys and draft. The 88 has shown this year that he's won 2 out of the 3 of the restrictor plate tracks. So perhaps next week is his better opportunity.
Let's go back to pit road for some updates. We'll start with Kelly.
Kevin Harvick started 4th, running 4th now. Restarts have been a big point of contention in recent weeks, and Kevin Harvick didn't like what he saw in that last one.
How long they're going to let that 20 get away with that? Slowing down like that.
And Kevin had been way too loose on his previous stint after they made some adjustments. Now he's saying it's better so far. Mike?
Kelly, Denny Hamlin started 5th and at one point had faded beyond the top 10. He's been struggling with a very loose race car, but they made a pretty significant adjustment last time down pit road. They put a half-round wedge in the left rear, and the car has gotten better. One of Dave Rogers' crew chief's biggest concerns was keeping up with the changing racetrack. It appears that's what they're doing right now. He's moving towards the front. Marty?
Like Martin Truex Jr. and his team, certainly one of the underdogs here in the chase, currently 11th, and they have struggled with track position all day long. They had a slow pit stop on this last stop. They made several adjustments and took their time with the car, finally going forward in 11th for Truex right now, Dave.
And Marty, Carl Edwards led earlier today by that two-tire strategy he had, so that's a championship point. But he lost positions and fell back. So when they came down pit road, they made an adjustment for the 19. They also had a slow pit stop, the crew admitted to me, and he lost even more spots. So he restarted 19th as we go back to the battle up front, Rick.
Battle for third between Logano and Harvick. Logano holding the spot. Harvick looking a little bit slower for the one of Jamie McMurray. As we see Sam Hornish Jr. looking to the inside. And just not up to speed yet for the one. Not holding the speed that he had earlier. Not like Matt Kenseth out in front of Kansas. About an 0.8 of a second lead over Jimmy Johnson, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, the top 5. Austin Dillon, Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Casey Kane, the top 10. We heard Kevin Harvick make a reference to the restart, and Matt Kenseth. We want to look back on that restart. And one of the questions that I would ask the two of you is, have you guys gotten so good, and I say that as a driver, have you gotten so good that you can play games now with when you start? You know that you have Jimmy Johnson on your inside or outside, who's great at this racetrack. Are you trying to get him to jump? Because we look at the restart, and it looks like Kenseth goes late in the box on this restart.
He does go late in the box. But playing games on restarts, that's nothing new. But as you can see, Matt Kenseth does not do anything wrong. He's 51 miles an hour. He accelerates just before the end of the line. So the way games are played is when you accelerate within that zone. So Matt Kenseth was 100% within the rules. And that, but you don't go in the same place every time. You try to surprise a guy around you. That's the gamemanship that's played.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick was disappointed because he thought the 20 slowed down in his opinion. But what we've seen over all these years is as you get there, the energy gets higher and higher and higher, and everybody kind of creeps into the zone and gets faster. Matt Kenseth just stayed directly at 51 miles an hour for the entire length of the zone. He has every right to do that. I don't think he's playing games as much as he's the leader. He wants to stay the leader into turn 1.
He has that advantage being the leader.
Understand the rules and use them to your advantage.
And remember, the rule is when you get to that first line, the leader can go. He can't go prior to it. Once he gets there, he can go. If he doesn't go by the second line, then the flagman starts the race. So, you know, he could come to the end of the line and not go.
Right.
And the flagman starts the race, and he would still be legal. So the only thing he can't do is he can't slow down excessively in that zone. He can't leave before that zone. Those are really the things the leader can't do.
Absolutely. Matt Kenseth's having a great way. Well, a car that's not having the day they hoped. Earlier we saw Jamie McMurray get up a little high in turns 1 and 2 and get into the wall where there was some speedy dry, and perhaps I thought that the track wasn't completely where it needed to be, but this is a different replay of the same situation. Jamie McMurray obviously battling his race car, trying very hard to run against the wall where he is very successful. And there's just not enough grip in that race car. He gets into the wall again. And that's what, you know, some days just don't go like you had hoped, and currently in the 23rd position, still in the lead lap though. A lot of pit stops to go.
And so you're watching at home wondering, if he got up there and he ran before, why would you do it again? Because he's faster there.
Right.
You have to go where your car is faster. If he ran the bottom, he'd be 2 or 3 tenths a lap slower. He needs to run the top, but when you run the top, you put yourself in jeopardy, hit the wall, but you have to make the best lap time you can.
Austin Dillon running a similar line right up against the wall. Austin Dillon in the top 5. Matt Kenseth still your race leader. Jimmy Johnson runs second. Weekly playoff grid challenge for your chance to win weekly prizes, including a Roku 3-screen player. The more weeks you play, the more chances you have for the grand prize. Quicken Loans will pay your mortgage for a year. Find out more at NBCSports.com/grid challenge. Matt Kenseth in front of Jimmy Johnson by a second. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon in the top 5. Kenseth even trying the apron as they go across the start-finish line. Let's go through the field. Brought to you by Sprint. We'll start with Mike Massaro.
And Rick, that apron is pretty much the line that Matt Kenseth worked on throughout the weekend during practice. That's where he likes to run. It's working out pretty well, I'd say. He's led over 70 laps so far, feeling pretty good about his car, especially in clean air, although he's been getting a little bit loose over the course of this run. Kelly?
Jimmy Johnson no longer in the chase. I asked crew chief Chad Canals if they'd like to play spoiler and win one, and he said, hey, it's not even about winning for us. It's just about finishing. We haven't had a clean race in the last 8 weeks in spite of having
When the 22 came down pit road last time, there was a little damage to the inner shoulder of the right front tire. No worries in the 22 camp, however. Joey was told it looks very similar to the right front that came off our car last year when we won. Kelly?
Kevin Harvick in the 4-car, second in the chase standings. He led 21 laps early in this race, but then his car just got way too loose. They made an air pressure adjustment and a wedge adjustment, which helped at first. Right now, he's saying, no, he's a little bit too tight out of 2, Dave.
Can you become a better driver overnight? Yes, if you see data. The only time these teams get data is between sessions downloaded on their computers from the electronic fuel injection system. Austin Dillon got some of that yesterday after the Xfinity Series race, and Slugger Labby, his crew chief, told me he's driving different today. Maybe one reason why he's running in the top 5. Kelly?
Kurt Busch started this day pretty happy with his car, so they didn't make any adjustments last time he came down pit road, but now he's saying he's a little bit loose on top, way too tight on the bottom this run. On top of that, he said he's got a little bit vibration. He's not too worried about it, just reminded the guys to tighten up the lug nuts and then stop. Marty?
Kelly, when I talked to Adam Stevens, the crew chief for Kyle Busch this morning, he said the most frustrating part about finishing 20th at Charlotte last week, they had top 2 speed. He said, I'd rather use our mulligan at Talladega coming up. Kyle, at the beginning of the run, said the car is so tight, he has it at full lock, turning left, and it goes straight. Now he's one of the fastest cars on the track. Gotten much better, Dave.
When Ryan Newman got into the turns on Friday, the back end of the car wanted to come around on him. Crew chief Luke Lambert told me we've adjusted for that over the weekend. Today, he's got the opposite problem, but still maintains a top 10 run, Mike.
Denny Hamlin's consistent with what he said over the radio. Loose, loose, loose each and every run. They've gone to work on it, making several wedge adjustments over the course of their pit stops today. It hasn't improved the car all that much. He's having a very difficult time getting through turn 3. Marty?
Mike Kasich having a nice run in the 10th position. Keith Rodden, his crew chief, told me this morning, we just need to get a finish. We've had speed lately. We just need to finish in the top 10 where we've run, and that's where he is right now. His car loose, and it gets looser the longer he runs. Martin Truex Jr. continuing trying to make forward progress, loose in, tight in the center, and he said when he tries to carry speed through the center, that's when the tight gets magnified. Just hard to turn that race car. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., they have struggled all day long, loose in, tight off. It's like a broken record. They can't make it better so far on the 88. In fact, a moment ago, he said, I just don't like it right now. The car is way too loose. And for Brad Keselowski back there in 13th, he's asking where everybody is running. If maybe he could move up to the top and save a little bit of time. But right now, Keselowski's struggling with a car that's tight in the middle of 3 and 4, Mike.
And Marty, Ryan Blaney tested here back in September, and because of that, Jeremy Bullins, his crew chief, felt like they came off the truck extremely strong to begin the weekend and had high expectations. We saw that he ran inside the top 5 much of the early stages of this race. He's faded a little bit right now. The car's been getting a little bit twitchy over the course of this run, Kelly.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 24th here in May, but he said he was looking forward to coming back because their mile-and-a-half cars have improved greatly. However, this race, he's been plowing tight at times, and now he's saying, I need to carry more speed in the high groove up in the turns, Mike.
Brian Scott paired with crew chief Todd Parrott this weekend, running inside the top 20. A solid run, but he was expecting to run inside the top 15. The car just a little bit too tight right now and losing the nose. Dave?
Mike, on this run, Carl's first report was loose. Cross that out. Then he was tight. Cross that out. Since he has been, quote, okay, he's picked up 2 precious positions on the track. Mike?
It's been a difficult week for the 15 car. In practice, they struggled on Friday. They made it a little bit better on Saturday, but did not see the gains they were looking for, although this has been a kind of a refreshing run. Cliff Boyer has said the car's pretty good right now. They didn't make any adjustments last time down pit road, Marty.
Mike's starting to see a little bit of a glimmer of hope from the Roush Fenway camp. A little more speed over the last few weeks. Greg Biffle right now in the 19th position. I asked the team why that was. They've gotten some new cars, some new aero packages. Biffle has been struggling with bad vibrations on the last 2 runs. This run, though, no vibration, just a little bit tight, Mike.
Talking with Jeff Gordon's crew chief Alan Gustafson this morning, he said, look, we had some speed during practice, but it just was not consistent. Speed, not necessarily the only problem the 24 has encountered today. They had a problem on pit road with a loose lug nut and an ill-handling race car to this point for Jeff Gordon. They just have not been able to dial it in. Rick?
Great information, you guys, all the way through the top 20. Matt Kenseth out in front. He continues to lead. Green flag pit stops are coming up. In this 3 team after running in the top 5. Right front tire goes down into the wall hard. They're in the garage working on that car, trying to get it back out on the track. The most laps led today, presented by Sprint. Matt Kenseth has already led 85 laps. He's continuing to add to his laps led. You can follow Miss Sprint Cup on Twitter now for a chance to win an autographed hat from today's Victory Lane. And Mike Massaro's caught up with Austin.
And lots of damage to the 3 car. They're going to work on it as Austin stands and observes. It appeared to us that it was a tire issue. What could you tell?
We were a little tight that run, and I was catching everybody in front of us. Thought we had a really good American ethanol show. They worked hard on it. I'm really proud of how we started the race. Just, man, what a bummer. I guess just blew it right front. I don't know if we ran over something or what, but it showed a little heat second run, but not that much. So it's just, I know we're carrying a lot of speed around the top of the track and just blew a tire.
Heavy right side damage, Rick, and they continue repairs down here in the garage.
Just a matter of time before Austin Dillon is able to get a win in the Cup Series. You should see the speeds coming in here in row number 1.
That's exactly what we talked about. Matt Kenseth has the opportunity to accelerate everywhere in that zone. And much like you said, Jeff, do it different every time. Last time he was late in the zone. This time very early in the zone, he accelerates out.
And he still has Jimmy Johnson right to his inside as they go into turn 3. A little bit of a bobble there by the 48, and that allows the 20 to move by.
That's all aerodynamics. The 48 trapped on the bottom with the 20 to his right, taking the air off the right side of the car, the right side quarter panel. You see the momentum loss by the 48. It's going to cost him all 3 spots.
Kevin Harvick to second, Joey Logano to third. Jimmy Johnson falls back to 4th. Kyle Busch running 5th. Past the halfway point, only 107 laps remain from Kansas. Again, you win if you're a chaser and you advance to the next round. Joey Logano has already done that. He won at Charlotte last week, and he will advance to round 3. Now, Matt Kenseth, who had troubles in Charlotte, finished 42nd because of damage to the car. Now in a position where he could win and advance.
We talk about how fast this racetrack is, Rick. Well, on these restarts, 1 and 2 really is a wide open corner. Then you go down to 3 and 4 side by side with guys trying to carry the momentum. Well, the last time we saw Jimmy Johnson on the bottom, Matt Kenseth on the top. So when you watch the replay from the onboard of Kevin Harvick, Jeff, you felt this before. Look at Jimmy Johnson gets loose, and when the 20 gets to his right side, how it just takes the air off that 48. Very, very hard to drive. Luckily, really, he catched it. We've seen cars spin off turn 4 like that before.
He actually heard Kevin Harvick lift. He saw it going on, and he actually lifted off the throttle to give Jimmy a little bit of room. You know, if he would have stayed in the throttle, he would have just sort of mowed Jimmy over. So you see a car get loose like that, you have to respond from behind.
Here comes Joey Logano, trying to find a way around the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Now he's going to run that high line through 1 and 2. The momentum on his side, and Logano gets to the outside of the 4, and he'll take second away.
And look how much speed he carries down the backstretch off the top. This is why you run the top. You see Kevin Harvick gains a car length on entry, but Joey Logano is back to the gas much earlier and carries a ton of speed. It'll probably be the same way down here in turn 1.
Chaser Dale Earnhardt Jr. thinks he has a loose wheel. He's going to have to come to pit road. He was running 21st. He's going to continue to fall back and lose a lap as he goes on to pit road.
They had a slow pit stop as well, Marty.
And this has been an issue for this team a number of times this year. He said he had a loose wheel. He didn't really say which one it was. Reported immediately when this run started that he had a bad vibration. They had this problem at Dover as well. They actually had 2 of them there. One caught them, and then they got one after the race went caution. So it's going to be a 4-tire change here for the 88 car. Critical laps and time being lost here on pit road for a chaser who's already below the cut line, Rick.
Absolutely. He has a bad race at Charlotte. Now, if he follows it up with a bad race at Kansas, it will be a must-win situation for him. But we take a look. Up the racetrack he goes. Dale Earnhardt Jr. thinking he had a loose wheel.
So he did the right thing by coming on pit road and doing 4 tires. They stayed in the lead lap. If you don't know which wheel and tire is a problem, you have to change all 4. If you only change 2 and you didn't guess right, then you got to come back, and that hurts you even more. So he's currently 1 lap down. He's not that far in front of the leader, though. Matt Kenseth, he sees Dale Earnhardt Jr. He knows he's racing Dale Earnhardt Jr. Matt Kenseth's going to run as hard as he can to put him another lap down, because if you get a chase guy 2 laps down, that's very, very difficult for him to come back and beat you.
Yeah, because currently, running in the 27th position, you see at the top of your screen, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 12th points position, 36 points behind. That basically makes Talladega a must-win if he cannot dig out of that hole of 36 points over the next 100 laps.
But if there was anybody that went to Talladega in a must-win situation, you would say a person with the name Earnhardt is going to do well.
And there's no question Junior has the most confidence when he goes to the super speedway races. He has confidence in himself. He believes in himself. He knows he can win there. The problem is there's 42 others that can win at Talladega. There's not necessarily 43 cars here that can win, but there's 43 that can win at Talladega.
Matt Kenseth continuing to lead at Kansas. 95 laps he's led already. Not the homecoming that Clint Boyer wanted. The Emporia, Kansas native, hard into the wall, and he is out of the car and getting into the back of the ambulance. Take a look. He was running 16th.
See, he gets loose right
Sideways,
there.
yeah.
And ends up overcorrecting and hits the wall really hard. Hard impact.
It's right along with Jeff Gordon.
It's so hard as a driver when you have to turn the wheel back right. If you don't, you're going to spin out. But when you turn the wheel back right and the front tires catch, this is what happens. So you just got to not turn the wheel back to the right as hard. It's very difficult to do. We see really good race car drivers do this, and every tire is different. You know, the left side tires and right side tires are different. When you turn that wheel back to the right, the left side tires sometimes dig. This is a different tire than we're going to run than we ran last week at Charlotte. So every tire behaves a little bit differently. When he got loose, he just got the wheel turned too far back to the right. Hard impact in the wall.
Continue to applaud you drivers. Amazing what you will attempt to do. Clint Boyer did climb out of that car under his own power and walk to the ambulance. And we have to remind people also of the fact that the safer barrier, they've been continuing to add that all the way around tracks. They added 3,200 feet of safer barrier here at Kansas Speedway. He did hit the safer barrier there, but even hitting the safer barrier, these cars, as we mentioned, carrying speeds over 185 miles an hour through the center of the turns, and that was on exit of turn number 2, hitting a wall that hard. It's incredible, the nerve that you guys have. So amazing hit there for Clint Boyer. He'll go to the infield care center, get checked out, and we'll keep you updated on that. Matt Kenseth still in front. Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch. They were just on pit road on lap 156, and so they opt to stay out. A few back a little bit further have opted to come onto pit road, led by the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Keselowski running 11th when he made the decision to come onto pit road. Mike.
And Jeff Gordon has had a handful of a race car throughout the course of the day. They're going to try to make some air pressure adjustments here, and a 4-tire change of the 24 already complete, Marty.
Brad Keselowski said his car was much better that run, Mike, but it built loose. So Paul Wolfe brought him to pit road for a wedge adjustment and also an air pressure adjustment to tighten up that car just a little bit, Dave.
Carl Edwards said we're going the right direction. Darian Grubb, his crew chief, said we need to do the opposite of what everybody else in front of us is doing because we need some track position. Hopefully 4 tires and an adjustment. Carl can drive forward from here on. Rick?
And I like that, Rick. I like that strategy. Do the opposite. We have to find a way to get our track position. Maybe new tires. We've seen them more valuable than ever here at Kansas.
Track cleanup continues. We'll be back.
Yep. 4 tires versus 2 tires. We came into this race thinking 2 tires are going to be the way to go, but what we've seen so far, Steve, 4 tires have been better than 2.
Yeah, that's surprising. What's not surprising, a restart's been a hot topic amongst drivers, and a way to try to gain an advantage. We've heard about that the last few weeks. And pit mistakes, they continue. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s had a loose wheel. Some other teams have complained about loose wheels. Some have been lucky with caution, some haven't.
You mentioned restarts. We've heard from the 4 team and the driver of the 4, Kevin Harvick, say he thinks that the 20 is slowing the field down or maybe brake checking. This is what they just had to say on the radio moments ago.
Have they said anything about the brake checking on the restarts? They were showing it on TV pretty clear. It's the same car every week. When he's leading, he just slows down. Yeah, you can see it big time on TV.
And when they mentioned that, we've shown on the pointers that it doesn't look like he's rolling through the restart zone, that there's any slowing down. But pace car speed, as they're rolling around on the track right now, pace car speed is 55 miles an hour. So the last one that we showed, the speed was 51 miles an hour that they kept through into the restart zone. So he does have a point in the fact that they are slowing down a little bit from the time that the pace car comes off the track.
That's correct, but NASCAR's not going to make a call because you're running 51 instead of 55 as you approach. Now, if you start changing your speeds a great deal as you approach or while you're in the box, if you get in the box and you're 51 and you go to 45 and then you accelerate, well, then that'll put NASCAR in a position where they may have to make a call. But I don't think NASCAR is going to call you if you've slowed down from 55, 54, 53 to 51 miles an hour prior to being in the box.
The pointers really help because what happens is as the field approaches that first line, everyone is anticipating what's going to happen. So the energy through the field just increases. The whole field starts to creep a little. It's not row 1. It's row 2, 3, 4, 5. They all start to pick up their speed. It almost makes it look like the leaders have slowed down.
And the reason for the most recent caution was the driver of the 15. He's out of the infield care center with Mike.
Yeah, and he walked out. That was a very good sign, but a heavy hit. How are you?
Good. I was just, I was following Gordon there, and I started to catch him back. And I went in and he kind of took my line away, and I tried to pull down, and as soon as my headlight got out and got some air in it, boy, it bit and turned me. And I probably should have just spun to the inside, but I thought I could save it, and guess what? I did not save it.
Didn't save it. Was
hard.
But it's great to see you able to walk out under your own power. That was a hit that took our breath away.
Yeah, it was a hard hit. Gives you a wake-up call, but I was actually, we were having some fun, doing a little better than I actually thought we were going to, but just disappointed. I'm frustrated. You always hate to have something like that happen, especially at home.
Disappointing, Clint Boyer. Rick, we're going green.
2x2 once again, and NASCAR doesn't use the superimposed lines on the track or the pointers that we put in when they make any decisions. We'll watch once again as they come into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. Side by side, Joey Logano on the inside, Kenseth on the outside.
Harvick's going to run up behind Kenseth. No, he chose the 22. He chose to push the 22. Push the 22 right past the 20.
Will he be able to hold on to the lead? Logano trying to go back-to-back with wins. Logano out in front of Matt Kenseth.
Is that Kevin Harvick trying to push the 20 of the 22 of Logano versus helping someone to go win the race and advance himself in? Is that part of the strategy on that move? I don't know, but you have to think, you at least had to think about it a little bit.
Definitely strategy being played by everyone involved with these teams.
Logano's in. You can't knock him out of the next round. He's in. If you can keep Matt Kenseth, the guy that you think could win this championship, if you could keep him advancing, that's what you're going to do. Smart thinking by Kevin Harvick, honestly, to try to help the car that's already in the chase.
So Joey Logano in front of the field. Matt Kenseth running second. Harvick third. Jimmy Johnson fourth. Denny Hamlin running in the top 5 now. 21 or 20 cars now on the lead lap. Running 20th is Jamie McMurray. Outside the top 20 is one chase driver. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's 1 lap down, running 23rd.
Yeah, it's a battle back where he's running. He's currently 1 lap down, trying to get back in the lucky dog position, racing Justin Allgaier and Danica Patrick.
There's the 88s. Mired back in traffic. We see Kyle Larson moving to the inside, trying to take that spot away.
Jeff, you've always mentioned that running for the lucky dog sometimes is harder than running for the lead. You're trying to do it in traffic.
You have to race all these guys. You're back. You're halfway through the field. There's no air on your cars. Aerodynamically, your car drives terrible. You have to race these guys exceptionally hard. Many times, this is the best race of the weekend because this is their life. I mean, this is their entire race is trying to be that first car lap down, and you have to race so hard. It's the only way you're going to get by someone.
Yeah, because Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now, he's being told by Greg Ives, TJ Majors, that the 51 is the bogey. You have to get in front of the 51. That's how we're going to dig out from this hole.
The 42 of Kyle Larson is 3 laps down, so they're not racing for position. He does need to get in front of the 51 if he wants to get into that position for the free pass. And you know, Justin Allgaier doesn't want to give up that spot. He wants to get back on the lead lap.
You saw the 42 underneath the 88. They have not tightened that car up any. He's still exceptionally loose.
Battle for the lead on the right side of your screen. Joe Logano trying to hang on to it. The 20 of Kenseth trying to regain the lead here in the Hollywood Casino 400. To the bottom of the track goes Matt Kenseth.
One thing that's so difficult as a race car driver is you don't want to go into the corner and be in the same line that the car is in that's in front of you. So you have to guess right now, where's the 22 going? Is he going to go to the top? If he's going to go to the top, I want to go all the way to the bottom. If he's going to go to the bottom, I need to go to the middle. So, you know, it's very difficult to anticipate where the car in front of you is going to go. It's such an aerodynamic disadvantage to be directly behind him. You want to be offset just like he is right now.
Logano stays up high. Here comes Kenseth looking to the bottom of the track. Side by side for the lead as they come to the start-finish line. Kenseth has the advantage as they cross. Now as they go to turn 1. A surge by Logano on the high line.
Matt Kenseth's disadvantage because he's on the bottom of the racetrack. He can't enter the corner at the same angle that you want to enter the corner. You have to chop your corner off getting into the corner because there's a car on the outside of you. That slows the center of your corner down because the angle of attack is off.
Logano moving up the racetrack, almost up against the wall. That momentum on his side. And the 2 of Brad Keselowski, I believe, just hit the wall.
Yeah, you can see the right side's flat. It's hard to make out of the white paint, but right above the right rear tire, there's some wrinkle in the sheet metal. He was running 10th when he made contact. Remember, this is a car that came down pit road and got 4 tires.
So he got loose getting in the corner and had to chase up the racetrack. And that's something we see at this racetrack as this race wears on. And the wind now is blowing into turn 3, so that makes that condition worse. The wind is blowing directly down the back straightaway, so as those cars enter the corner, that's going to make them even looser getting into turn 3.
While these 2 continue to race for the lead running side by side, that's allowing Jimmy Johnson to close the gap. The more those 2 run side by side, the better it is for the 48 of Jimmy Johnson to reel them back in. And once again, they're going to go side by side for the lead. Logano keeping the momentum up on the high side. He continues to lead at Kansas. Increases Kenseth in front of Logano once again.
That lap car couldn't have been in a better place for Matt Kenseth.
Great job, buddy.
That didn't allow Joey Logano to run the top 1 and 2 like he's been doing, trying to get the momentum. He knew he had to run the middle, kind of use somewhat of a pick to complete the pass.
So Logano drops back to second. His teammate, we saw the 2 of Brad Keselowski get into the wall. Marty, what's happening with that team?
Well, since then, he has told the team, hey, told Paul Wolf, his crew chief, I was just trying to get you a little bit more. It just won't stick, Paul. He said, I really didn't want to run that line, meaning that high line, but I knew I had to try it. They have checked out the car. They say there's a little damage on the right rear, but nothing too bad. Since then, the handling of the car has been very tight. One thing they have talked about, Jeff, you brought it up a moment ago, the wind has picked up a bunch here in the last 30 minutes or so. That really pushes these cars into turn 3 and wreaks havoc with the cars right where Brad Keselowski is right now.
Marty, you're exactly right, and that's the worst part of this racetrack. Entering turn 3, that's where the teams have the most issue. You tend to get really, really loose, meaning the back of the car wants to pass in front of the car, and then that wind just makes it that much worse. So that's going to continue to be a problem all day long.
Yeah, and, you know, I agree that there's not a lot of damage for the 2, but the concern is that right rear quarter panel is extremely sensitive. It's out there in the wind. You're leaning on it in the corner. So if you damage it, it will definitely make some damage. Another car that damaged his, actually, we were talking about the Lucky Dog race. Well, the 51 of Justin Allgaier and the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. were battling away, and the 51 got a little high here off turn 2 and actually made a little bit of contact with the wall that allowed the 88 to get by him. You see right there, not a heavy contact, but enough to damage the 51. That puts the 88 currently in the Lucky Dog position.
And now what Earnhardt Jr. needs, he needs a caution pretty soon, because Jamie McMurray, he's not that far in front of the leader. If the leader gets in front of McMurray, then he would be the free pass car.
Only 68 laps to go from Kansas. Kenseth back out front again. The hit drama Chicago Fire is back and better than ever. This Tuesday's episode pushed the entire house to the brink. An all-new Chicago Fire after The Voice, Tuesday 10/9 Central on NBC. Dale Earnhardt Jr. still in the free pass position. He is the highest scored car a lap down. He runs 21st. There are 20 cars on the lead lap. Running 20th is Jamie McMurray. Matt Kenseth still out front, has almost a 2-second lead over Jimmy Johnson running second. Joey Logano has fallen back to third. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, the top 5. Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Kyle Busch back in 8th. Marty?
Hanging on to 8th right now, Rick. That's because a little while ago they made a brush with the wall, a little slight contact. Kyle said he thinks there's oil in the very top groove of the racetrack. So you see him down about a half groove from that top lane. He would love to run all the way against the wall, but he thinks there's oil up there, so he can't afford to do it anymore, and certainly can't afford any more contact with the wall.
Now, this is one of the longest runs we've had all day, Rick. I didn't know what was going on there with Kyle Busch. He was giving him the top, but he kind of ran up behind that lap car. At lap 207, 208, it looks to be about 4 or 5 more laps, and we're going to see these leaders come to pit road for their final required stop for fuel. They'll be in their fuel window now. But as much as tires has meant today, coming and going 2 versus 4, it'll be interesting to see what strategy they play out in the last run of the race. But I'm thinking about 4 or 5 away, we're going to see the leaders on pit road.
Matt Kenseth has a 1.8-second lead over Jimmy Johnson. Joey Logano almost 4 seconds behind Matt Kenseth. Logano was battling with Kenseth for the lead. He has fallen back and lost pace with Kenseth. Matt Kenseth in a perfect position to advance to the 3rd round of the Chase playoffs. A win would do that for him after a bad Charlotte race where he finished 42nd, put themselves in a hole, and now the opportunity to advance with a win here at Kansas, but he's got a ways to go. This is a very important stop for all of these teams. Green flag pit stops are important anyway, but with so much on the line, Matt Kenseth really in a position where a win is almost needed as far down as he was after Charlotte. Now he's in a position where he needs his team really to rise up and have a great pit stop as we get close to those green flag stops.
Well, I'm going to contradict you. If I was the crew chief for Matt Kenseth, I would be coming down, patting all my guys in the back, telling them I need a solid pit stop. I don't need great. We don't need fireworks. We can't afford a loose wheel. We can't afford a major mistake, a pit penalty, equipment out of the box. What we need to do, we have a fast enough race car. We've seen Matt Kenseth consistently drive his car to the front. Let's not work so hard that we're trying to keep the lead. Let's just make sure we come once and once only, Mike.
Yeah, you know, Jason Ratcliffe has not climbed down off the box to pat anybody on the back, but I did see Coach Gibbs here just moments ago checking in to make sure everything is okay. Kenseth has led the most laps here today. This is exactly the run they were hoping to get, trying to rebound from a disappointing Charlotte. They've been feeling like their car's been better at the end of a long run. Kelly?
Kurt Busch, 5th in the Chase standings, running 6th now. Remember that vibration? Turns out it was the right rear wheel weight that had moved. Right now, Kurt's saying that his car's going the wrong way after the last adjustments they made. It's just too tight. They'll fix that on pit road, Marty.
Kelly Martin Truex Jr. sent out a tweet earlier this this week. He said, quote, most don't see us, but we're still here, end quote. They love being the underdogs in the 78 team. If you want a team to root for and you love underdogs, you can root for the 78 team of Martin Truex Jr. You see him coming down pit road right now. He said the car is still too tight, just chattering the fronts, and the harder he pushes it, he told Cole Pern, his crew chief, the more that front end wants to chatter. They've been working with that all day long. They're going to come down pit road here, as we talked about, critical green flag stops for all of these chasers. They're going to take on 4 Goodyear tires and air pressure adjustment, trying to loosen that car up just a bit for the 78, and also that wedge adjustment, 1 round in the left rear, Kelly.
The 4 car of Kevin Harvick had been running for it. He said he had no rear grip up high, and it was just too tight on the bottom, both ends of the track. So they're going to make a wedge adjustment for him, also an air pressure adjustment. It'll be 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, but they might be a lap short even after they fill it, Mike.
Matt Kenseth last hit pit road at lap 156. His only concern is the first 5 to 10 laps on a new set of tires. He says that's when the car's tight. After that, pretty good. A 4-tire change for Kenseth, a full load of race fuel as well, and an air pressure adjustment. Meanwhile, his teammate Denny Hamlin on pit road as well. He's been a bit loose throughout the course of the day, but just a bit loose is much better than it was early on when he was really loose. Another air pressure adjustment in 4 tires. Dave?
The rear tires on the 22 car will be changed just a little bit. They'll choose them that have a circumference that's a little greater on the left side. That's to tighten the car up as they wait on the fuel now to pack it full. Kelly?
You see Kurt Busch in the 41 car. They're going to go back on adjustments they made before, so they fixed the wedge, put air back in the tires for the 41, and it was a 4-tire stop. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car said he was a little bit snug in the front or the center of the car, similar to the last run. It's a 4-tire stop as well for the 48, Rick.
And the 4 of Kevin Harvick may have had some equipment leave his pit stall.
We just talked about this before the stops. Solid stops. Mistakes will kill you. And right here, they said they were close on fuel. The gas man tries to get every last drop in. He loses control of the gas can. It comes out of the pit box. That'll be a penalty for the 4 car. A very costly penalty.
That will mean he will have to come back onto pit road. Just heard, have to do a stop and go.
One thing I love about Kevin Harvick, though, you didn't hear, he just responded. You know, what do we got to do? He's going to come on pit road. This guy has the fight and to try to do it right here. He's going to get all he can in pit road. A very tough entrance. Good transition to a flat. But this is going to cost this team at least a lap on the racetrack.
78 of Martin Truex Jr. also with an issue on pit road. An uncontrolled tire for Martin Truex Jr. He has to come back to pit road. That rear tire gets away.
Steve, you nailed it. It's all about not making mistakes at this point. They're spread out a great deal on the green flag stops. If you have a little bit slower stop, it doesn't kill you. But if you have a really bad stop and a penalty, that can be real trouble. So you have to understand the situation you're in. Sometimes calm and smooth is the best. Mike?
Jeff Gordon, a 3-time winner here at Kansas Speedway, has not had the handling on the race car he would like. Still searching for grip. A 4-tire change and air pressure adjustment and Sunoco race fuel for the 24.
Jeff Gordon coming out of his pit stall back out onto the racetrack. Out front, Ryan Blaney leading as we go NASCAR nonstop.
The Kansas Speedway, 224 laps in the books. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaving pit road. Unfortunately, they did not get the caution they needed. They were in the free pass position for much of that run. Jr. saying the car is still way too loose. They made a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment. Dave?
Carl Edwards pitted off sequence earlier. He had about 18 more laps than the majority of the field to work with, but he's been on and off of pit road now, took 4 tires, made a slight chassis adjustment for a car that was a little free overall. And Jeff, that can be good sometimes, but you don't want too free.
Not on this racetrack. Free is very difficult with these high speeds. The faster you go, a little bit snugger you want to be, because when you're free on a fast racetrack, it's very difficult.
About time for Paul Menard to make his way onto pit road. He is the race leader. Matt Kenseth running second, and Kenseth came to pit road on lap 214 about 11 laps ago. So when Menard actually comes to pit road, Kenseth will regain the lead. We mentioned earlier that the 4 of Kevin Harvick had an issue on pit road where they had equipment come out of the box. He came to pit road to serve the stop and go penalty, but when he was on pit road, we saw this, his shifter handle in his hand.
Yeah, remember at the beginning of the race, the Ford complained about a severe vibration at the beginning of the race. We talked about what could happen because of that vibration. You even mentioned the shifter handle. Well, here it is. The shifter handle, he throws it out the window. He doesn't need it anymore. There's usually a little bit of, he had the carbon extension, which tells me there's probably still maybe a 1 or 2 inch steel piece still in the shifter. Makes it very hard to shift, but still possible. We'll have to watch him. Why he did a good job on and off pit road, restarts could be a little harder.
Yeah, but he did come in his pit, and he was able to get it in gear. So the fact that the shifter handle is off, but as you said, there's still part of the shifter itself down there by the transmission that he was able to get it in first gear. So you're right. It will be very, very taxing on him on a restart, but he was able to get on pit road, and, that's a good thing for him.
Marty, what's going on with the 18?
And Rick, a lot of things happening quickly. Potential problems for Kyle Busch with the engine. Listen in.
I think we're blowing up. Motor just seized pitch. 290, 298 and 300.
They've had some debris on the grill. They had it on the last run. They're trying to get the car to cool down a little bit. He said the pitch of the engine changed a little bit. But right now, lap times look okay. Drivers are very smart. You guys are smart, aren't you, Jeff? Sometimes you pick up on something that might be happening well before it actually happens.
And no question. You've been sitting in these race cars long enough. You start to hear things, smell things. You understand what's normal and not normal. But what a typical race we're having today. This is what we've had the last several months. This is not over till it's over. So many things happen at the end of these races, and it's happening again today.
38 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 23rd. Needs a good finish here before we go to Talladega. Paul Menard now coming to pit road as we go NASCAR nonstop. Just 32 laps to go. Matt Kenseth still in front of Jimmy Johnson. Look at the chase grid. Joey Logano with a win a week ago. Advancing into round 3. Matt Kenseth, your race leader, could advance if he's able to hang on for the next 32 laps. Guys that have moved down that list, all the way down in 8th, the 4 of Kevin Harvick because of issues on pit road. Kelly.
Yeah, he pitted from the 4th position, but because of that violation, he had to start a stop and go. He's down in the 19th position right now, and on top of it, Kevin's saying he's just out of control loose. Now he's right on the bubble to advance to the next round with 1 race to go. Hardy?
Well, guys, for Brad Keselowski, actually for Martin Truex Jr., his car has been chattering for much of this run, but they've finally gotten it much better. The problem for them, the penalty that they had earlier, they are now back in the 20th position and not in a position to get the free pass either. A lot of ground to make up, but they finally have the car handling right. Now they don't have the track position that they had earlier in the race. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., he said the last adjustment that Greg Guys made the car much better, but they too are 2 laps down in 21st position, and to boot, they also have what they think is a right rear that may have slipped and spun on the wheel when they were on pit road. Last time he said he has a bad vibration in that right rear. Rick?
And we've heard that wheel weights have been moving. And so vibrations, drivers that are hoping to advance into the 3rd round of the championship, struggling at Kansas. Not Matt Kenseth. Will take the lead as they come out of turn 2. Denny Hamlin on the outside. Kyle Busch right in the middle of that 3-wide situation. Casey Kane in the 5 on the bottom of the track. Trying to make the bottom work. Johnson's fallen back to 3rd. Kenseth and Logano 1 and 2. 19 laps and counting. Now just 18.
And you talked about it, Jeff. The battle for the lucky dog is really heated up. Kevin Harvick's in the position. Martin Truex Jr. won it. They know with 18 to go, if there's a caution, they need to get back to the lead lap to try to save these points they've lost with pit mistakes under green.
And remember, the first car that is 1 lap down, when the caution comes out, he will get the pass around me, but he can pass the leader. That will put him back in the lead lap. And with only 14 cars in the lead lap, that is a tremendous gain.
And Jeff, that's if a caution comes out. Here's the battle now. Martin Truex Jr. looking to the inside. Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. asked his spotter, does the 47 of A.J. Allmendinger know what we're doing? Know that we're racing for the lucky dog. That is a tight battle. They reminded him, you must get by that 4-car. And it looks like Truex might be able to do it here on the backstretch, Rick.
Down the backstretch, they've got the 24 and the 19 in front of them as they're trying to race for that lucky dog position. Truex in front of the 4 of Kevin Harvick. But again, it will take a caution for that to pay off for Martin Truex Jr. And now just 16 to go. Matt Kenseth trying to punch his ticket into the 3rd round, not have to worry about going to Talladega and fight his way into the 3rd round.
Well, who's also not worried about Matt Kenseth leading this race? He has Logano coming. Logano has chopped into the lead a little bit. It was almost a second. This time by, it's a half a second. The 22 is working the top of the racetrack. We see here 2 completely different lines. 2 very fast race cars, though. It shows a multi-groove racetrack, different ways to get around here.
There's a half a second. The last time they were at the stripe. This time by 14 laps to go. Logano doesn't want to give Matt Kenseth an opportunity to advance to the 3rd round with a win. If Logano can get in front of him and win this race, Matt Kenseth will have to fight back in based on points. Logano on the high side, continuing to close the gap. It was 0.2 of a second last time by.
When does Matt Kenseth get off the bottom, Jeff? When does he go up and try to block the 22's line?
Spotter's talking to him, letting him know where the 22 is, letting him know where he's beating him. You know, you just got to make that decision as a driver. Matt likes the bottom of the racetrack, or he would be at the top. So the problem is you're going to give up a little speed when you go to try to block the 22. There he goes.
0.15 of a second separated the 2 cars that time by. Kenseth moves up the track, trying to take that line away from Joey Logano. Logano's on his back bumper. Now Logano to the bottom of the track. Kenseth stays high as they work their way through 3 and 4. Logano trying to pull even with the 20. A battle of chess all the way around this 1.5 mile track.
Joey Logano knows how tough of a competitor Matt Kenseth is. He had to race against him all year long. He knows he was one of the favorites moving into this for the championship. Joey Logano's goal right now, not let the 20 advance.
And listen, this isn't Homestead, the last race of the year, but this is Matt Kenseth's championship. This is his opportunity to put himself in position to win a championship. If he doesn't win, he may not advance, so he has to race these next 12 laps as if it's the last race and this is the championship. Mike.
You know, Jeff, I talked with his crew chief, Jason Radcliffe, this morning, asked him what Matt may have learned yesterday that can help him today. Of course, I'm talking about the Xfinity race where he led the most laps, but ultimately finished second to his teammate, Kyle Busch. Radcliffe told me he learned how the car reacts in certain situations, and obviously the most memorable situation was when he got past and gave up the lead. It'll be interesting to see if he learned anything from that that might enable him to hold off Logano. Dave?
Mike, if they hadn't had this late caution, this might not have been an opportunity for Joey Logano. The left rear tire that came off of that car was damaged. It was, quote, coming apart, according to crew chief Todd Gordon. He said, we're in much better shape now, and clearly Joey can race for the win.
And Mike, you talked about the race yesterday. This is identical to what happened in the Xfinity race. Matt Kenseth was leading, and his teammate was trying to run him down. Matt had to go and block on the outside and ended up not winning, and Busch won the race. But this is exactly that scenario. And the question is, did Matt learn? Is he able to apply that? These are completely different cars, but the situation is exactly the same.
Because here's where I see the 22 can't run the bottom. He can only run the top. So why Matt Kenseth isn't good at the top of the racetrack, sometimes, Rick, it's not about where you're good. Take away his line.
And right now, Kenseth back to the bottom of the track as Logano stays right up against the wall. This time by, it will be 8 laps to go.
And look, this isn't easy. Look how hard Matt Kenseth's having to work. Look at the steering wheel. Every time he moves that steering wheel, that's input into the front tires. He's having to catch the back of the car, turn the front of the car. There's a lot of work in that car right now.
Through the middle of the track. Kansas sawing on the wheel, trying to stay in front of Logano.
See him pick his head up, look in the mirror, trying to...
Clear by 2.5.
Watch him on the straightaway. In the corners, he's only focused on what's ahead of him. He's paying attention to his line. But as he gets on the straightaway, he glances up. He looks in the mirror to see if that corner worked well for him. Did Logano catch me? Did I get away from him? That way, when you go into the next corner, you can do the same thing if it worked.
And every corner entry is a chess match. Are you going to run the middle, the top? Where's the 22 going to be? The spotter tries to help, but at the speeds they're carrying, he has to commit. He has to commit when he gets to the corner. He can't wait for the 22 to make a decision.
Under 7 laps to go. Closing in on the final 9 miles of this race.
You see how hard it is. You can hear the throttle. You hear Matt Kenseth have to get out of the throttle. You saw the wheel input. You know, this is very difficult. Matt Kenseth has the 22 is a little quicker. There's no question about it. Matt's really going to have to work hard to these next 6 laps.
And even with 6 to go, though, there are 3 cars just in front of him on the backstretch. That's going to make this line even more important. This 20 has to decide, where do I want to enter the corner? When am I going to catch these cars? How am I going to get around them?
And remember, even though they're slower cars, still aerodynamically, you get a huge hurt by being behind them. So right there, Matt Kenseth, he really lost his entire race car and able to 22 to catch him.
Here comes the 22. He's closed the gap all over the back bumper now as it caught the slower traffic. And around goes the 20, sideways in front of the 22. Kansas slides. Caution comes out. The 22 was all over the back bumper of the 20 as they entered turn 1.
I got slants when I come the first time. Joey spun me out, lifted my tires off the ground.
That all started in turn 4 when Matt caught those lap cars. It wasn't that the lap cars blocked him necessarily, but aerodynamically it pulled all the air off Matt's car. He was the first one to the lap cars, and that allowed Joey to catch him.
We mentioned the lap traffic. You see right here, Matt Kenseth gets tight. He knows the 20's coming, so he tries to block. He goes to the apron. He knows the 22's coming up. He comes up to block him. A big block onto the 22, and the 22 drives in, catches him in the left rear quarter panel, spins the 20 out. Matt Kenseth with a great save to stay off the wall, but the damage to the points and the ultimate win has been done. The 20 will have to come get tires. His chance to win today is over.
And Matt Kenseth had to do everything he could to block him. Just like I said, he's racing for his championship. If he doesn't block Joey Logano gets on the outside of him and gets around him. So you can't blame Matt Kenseth for trying to block.
Hang on right here, bud.
But with that, when you make that decision, and I agree, a must decision. He had no choice. You also put yourself that opportunity. We saw it last week with Carl Edwards and Dale Jr. We see it again with the 20 and the 22. When you drive defensively, you give the guy behind you the opportunity to make that decision. He gets into the 20. Right, wrong, that's racing. These two can disagree about it. They'll have to talk about it after. But as you mentioned, it all started with the 20's defensive moves, which were required in this must-win situation.
He was in position to win, Matt Kenseth. Around he goes in 1 and 2. And Kenseth's chances to advance to round 3 may have just gone up in smoke.
And listen, there's no question that Joey Logano could have lifted and cut him some slack, but I'm sure Joey felt like he blocked him, and that's why he didn't. Mike.
And Jeff Gordon just off pit road now. Quick stop for him. 4-tire change and fuel.
Carl Edwards is on pit road. He'll get 4 tires and fuel as well. May as well wreck where he was running. It doesn't really matter at this point to give up any track position.
And Dave, we have been watching that battle for the free pass. You see top of your screen the lucky dog, Martin Truex Jr., who got it after that fierce battle with Kevin Harvick. He comes in, takes on 4 tires, nothing to lose, or the last car on the lead lap. Now he needs to see if he can make some progress. He'll restart 15th, Rick.
Joey Logano on the radio just moments ago about the incident.
Yeah, you were there. If he'd have left the lane like you should have, nothing would have happened. You blocked too many times. I get it, man. You're fine. Stop it. You know the deal. Yeah, 10-4. I mean, he blocked you once. Second time, he gotcha.
So there's always going to be 2 sides to a story, and
3 really.
That's their side.
Yeah.
That's the 22 side. Going into coming out of turn 4 is where this all really started because they were catching the traffic, but going into 1 is where the contact was made.
Yeah, again, I just think Matt Kenseth had to block. If Matt Kenseth didn't go up the racetrack, the 22 gets on the outside of him. The lap cars were on the bottom of the racetrack. The 22 had the entire advantage getting into the corner if he was on the outside of Matt Kenseth. So Matt Kenseth had to block. Like I said, this is his championship. This race was his championship, and he had to do anything he could do to try to keep this lead and win this race.
A win and you advance. Everybody wants wins from winning. Matt Kenseth knows he's in a must-win situation. Without a doubt, the 22 could have let the 20 go, but if he does that, he completely gives up the win. I think they're both in the right for the block and the aggressive driving. Matt Kenseth isn't going to like that, but they're going to have to discuss it after the race. I would have done the same thing if you put me in either position. I like the 20s blocking, but if I'm the 22, look, you block me down the straightaway. I have a run to the inside. I'm here. I'm going to try to take the position.
And listen, remember the 22. Although he is in the next round because he was already won. This is the opportunity to win a race. Winning races is special. You don't get a chance to win races every single day, so you can't blame him for being aggressive either. Steve, I think you said it best. Both drivers did what they thought they needed to do. I'm not sure really anybody did anything wrong. Joey could have cut him some slack. Matt could have not blocked him. But guess what? They did what they had to do to try to win this race.
Joey Logano won this race a year ago. Matt Kenseth was trying to win it to advance to round 3. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
I was clear, crazy said clear, and I checked, and I pulled up in front of him, and he just beat me for 3 car lengths, lifted my rear tires off the ground, never lifted getting into one, just dumped me.
So that's the other side of the story. This will be an attempt at a green-white checker finish, the first attempt. And they're going to turn the lights back on and go around one more time as they're 2x2 once again. But we will have 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish, meaning we want to finish this race under green flag conditions. And so if they go around and don't get back to the white flag, if a caution comes out before the white flag comes out, they will try it again. They'll do that up to 3 times. Now you have Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano on the front row. Joey Logano is the race leader. He will be the control car that will come into the NBC Sports restart zone and will have their first attempt at this restart. Take another look at what took place between the 2 cars.
So this is earlier. Joey Logano has a big run down the backstretch. The 20 moves about a half a lane off the wall to try to block that run. That was with still quite a few laps to go. That was an opportunity Joey Logano had to try to make a run. You advance a few laps later. Once again, you're blocking. As we mentioned, a must. The 20 has no choice. Look how it worked the first time. He gained the lead. This time the 22 gets him his left rear, and the 20 ends up getting spun out.
Denny Hamlin won in round 1 to advance to round 2. Now Denny Hamlin trying to win in round 2 to advance to round 3. Hamlin will be on the inside, Logano on the outside. They make up row number 1 as they come up to those are superimposed lines on the track for the restart zone. In the restart zone, green flag back in the air. Great restart for Joey Logano. Now he wants to get all the way back to the white flag. The importance of Joey Logano not only would be a win, but being able to stop another chaser from advancing with a win, locking themselves into round 3. Logano coming out of turn 4, across the start-finish line. White flag in the air, one more time around. Final lap for Kansas. Joey Logano with 12 career wins. His 12th came a week ago. It solidified his position in round 3. Now playing defense, making sure someone else doesn't lock their way into round 3. Coming out of turn 4, Logano's going to win again at Kansas.
Yeah, guys. Prove the road. That's how we do it. Awesome job, man. Awesome job. Good job, everybody. Way to get it done.
Joey Logano doing everything he can to make sure his competition has to work harder to get into the third round. Matt Kenseth led 153 laps today. Kenseth will finish 14th. Denny Hamlin second. Jimmy Johnson third. Casey Kane a top 5. Finishes 4th. Kyle Busch is 5th. We saw that impressive burnout a week ago in Charlotte, and he duplicates it today. Joey Logano, the hottest driver in NASCAR.
No question.
He is in round 2. He's doing what he needs to do. We talk about a win and you're in. Well, how can you avoid someone else getting into the chase? I guess win all the races yourself. He's 2 for 2 so far in this round.
Talladega looms a week away, and now everyone without a win, which is all 11 of his competitors in this round, will have to fight their way into the top 8 positions. There are 7 spots left. Will it take a win to advance? Not. Let's hear from the driver who was running for the win.
And that would be Matt Kenseth, who led the most laps this afternoon, but has a 14th place finish to show for it. Obviously, the signature moment was the incident with Joey Logano. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's hard to drive the car with the rear tires off the ground. So, you know, I was moving around the best I could. Joey was a lot tighter, a lot faster on a short run, but we were so much better in a long run. And I could still kind of get up the top and get around them and catching 2-lap cars. And crazy to me, I was clear, and I was. I pulled up in front of him, and, you know, he just lifted my tires off the ground and wrecked me.
What will you talk to Joey about in regards to this incident?
Oh, I won't talk to Joey. I don't have anything to talk to him about, really. So, I mean, you make decisions every day. You make decisions every minute behind the wheel. To me, strategically, that doesn't seem like such a great decision for him. But it's the one he made, and that's how he wanted to win. So I'm one of the only guys I think that haven't been into it yet with Joey. And I've always raced him with a ton of respect. I've actually been one of his biggest fans. Certainly not anymore, but I always was. So, you know, it's a shame. I'm glad the car's not wrecked. We'll just go on Talladega and race him there.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Matt Kenseth has his work cut out for him in Talladega, Rick, that's for sure.
Let's go directly to victory lane and Dave Burns.
Joey Logano steps out of his race car. Just a little bit of damage on the front end, but nothing to be worried about. The contact with Matt. And his trip to victory lane is the second in a row in the second round of the chase. Joey, how will you remember today?
Man, it's a fun race. What a great show Pennzoil Ford. These guys were really good. On top of it, just like we've been this whole chase, couldn't be more proud of what we're doing right now. It's, you got to thank Shell and Pennzoil, obviously AAA, Wheels Up, Coca-Cola, Roush Yates Motors. This is a big motor racetrack. I was trying to gas a lot. They brought the big steam, and just proud of what this team's doing right now.
Describe your role as the second place car, Joey, in those closing laps.
This is good, hard racing. You know, we were racing each other really hard, and you know, I felt like I got fenced twice down the straightaways, and raced you guys me hard, so I raced them hard back. And that's just that's hard racing. That's the way I race. If I get raced like that, I'll race the same way. That's just how I've always been, and it'll always be that way. So I just really couldn't be more proud of this team, though. You know, to be sitting in such a great position going into Talladega makes us feel really, really good.
You have blocked some people from victory lane here today, including Matt. How do you feel about that strategy-wise going into round 3, the third race in this round?
The fact that we're the only team that can relax right now is going to pay big dividends when we get to Martinsville. Everyone else is a little bit nervous. Our goal is still to win the race, even though we were moved on to the next round. Our goal is still to win that race, and you know, try to get some guys nervous for next week. That's kind of the strategy of this chase, and you know, to be able to you know, be able to do that today, like I said, it's gonna be more proud. These guys are they work so hard, and Todd Gordon, he's a freaking genius. So it's fun to drive his car.
Obviously, Matt disagrees with how this went down today. Did you consider it a good move?
Well, I didn't think it was a good move when I hit the wall. So, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it. And I just felt like, hey, I got raced hard. I got fenced twice. So I wasn't going to put up with it.
All right, the good news for Joey Logano, he is in victory lane. Win number 2 in a row at Kansas and 2 in a row in this round.
All smiles for Joey Logano. Let's take a look at today's Coca-Cola winning moment as Joey Logano takes home the checkered flag. That first block by Kenseth, and then getting into turn 1. As Kenseth goes around, Logano continues on and captures his second win of round 2. The only driver secured into round 3. So we heard from both sides. Obviously, Matt Kenseth said he had a ton of respect for Joey Logano prior to this event. He's going to change his opinion. Logano saying, if somebody's going to race me aggressive, I'm going to race him back the same way.
Listen, Matt Kenseth did everything that he had to do. He had to block Joey Logano. He could not allow Joey Logano, and any one of those times that Matt did block him, that's what he had to do. If not, Joey Logano gets on the outside of him and gets by him. Now, Joey Logano has a decision to make. I got blocked. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to just say, you know what, it's okay, I'm going to try to pass him clean, or I'm going to try to push him because I felt like I got pushed? Those are decisions you have to make. Joey could have lifted. He made the decision. He said, you know what, I felt like I had driven dirty, so I drove Matt dirty. You heard him say it. He felt like he drove Matt the way that Matt drove him.
This is what racing was built on. These are two drivers that didn't make excuses. Matt Kenseth doesn't claim he didn't block Joey Logano. Joey Logano's not going to claim that he didn't push Matt Kenseth into the corner and ended up spinning out. Matt had to protect his position. He did that the best he could. Joey Logano, he's a competitor. He drives his own race car for his own team. He's not worried about Matt Kenseth or anyone else, and he made the decision entering turn 1 that he was going to move the 20 off the bottom and take that position. Matt Kenseth spun out at the bumper of Joey Logano, but neither of them are going to back down from what they did on the racetrack. That's what I love. I love the respect for the sport to not say, well, I didn't mean, and I didn't. No, you meant to. They're the best drivers in the world. Matt Kenseth knew what he was doing when he blocked, and Joey Logano knew what he was doing when he chose not to let up and run into the back of Matt Kenseth. Joey Logano's in victory lane. They're going to continue to disagree, but this is why you tune in every Sunday, because to see the best drivers do what they do.
Two drivers aggressive in the closing laps of a very pivotal race here at Kansas Speedway. The guy who came home second, Denny Hamlin, was with Mike Massaro moments ago.
Denny Hamlin struggled with a loose race car much of the early portions of the race, but it seemed like the car really came in there at the end. What was your day like overall?
It was a interesting day for sure. We definitely fought our car early in the day. Just couldn't do anything. Got battle back in track position. It was so hard to pass that we just fought the car and we made it better. We had some good restarts. The pit crew picked us up a few spots, and next thing you know, we're trying to battle for a race win. So great day for our FedEx Express Camry. It just one short. Never been so disappointed to be second at Kansas. I would have taken second and ran with it before this weekend started.
You mentioned you were in position to possibly pull off the win there at the end with that last restart. What was that last restart like for you?
Yeah, the 22 went early, right at the beginning of the zone. I had a hunch that he was going to go a little early, but I just we had the gearing just wasn't quite good enough to get me a good launch there, and the 22 was able to clear us, and that was pretty much it.
Nice run. Denny Hamlin brings it home second in Kansas.
Well, Mike, Jeff Gordon spent much of the day quite frustrated with his race car, but at the end of the day, it's a top 10 for you. I don't know how you got up to a top 10 finish because that car was a handful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the same way we got in the chase, same way we got to round 2. We just grinded out. Extremely proud of the team for just never giving up and fighting so hard, having solid pit stops and trying as hard as we could. We qualified really good with the 3M Chevrolet, and it had me optimistic. But boy, we really struggled in practice, and we're hoping that today we're going to hit on something, but we just never did. Just really struggled with the front grip, and every time we tried to get it to turn, and didn't have much rear grip. So yeah, it was a struggle. We held on to a lead lap, which I don't know how, but we did. Great job on that. And then there at the end, we were able to take 2 tires and have a pretty good restart. And I thought we were going to I thought we had the 2 car there at the line, but I guess they said he beat us. But still, all in all, a never give up effort, and somehow we pulled off a top 10.
7 points above the cutoff. You said 7 points doesn't mean a lot, but you never know. 7 points could get you to round 3.
Well, every point means something, and, you know, it just doesn't mean anything as far as our approach for Talladega next week. I'm real confident in our race cars and our race team, and I'm excited about, you know, our chances at actually winning there. I just don't like the chances of being in a wreck because they're usually high, but we're going to go and approach it where we're going to be aggressive and race hard, and you know, we'll just see where the points end up.
Scrappy Jeff Gordon in the 2014 somehow finished 10th today. Dave?
Tied with Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick statistically after his 9th place finish is Brad Keselowski, albeit with a cold today, and you bounced off the wall. What was the car like after that?
Actually, I thought it was better.
Okay.
It was just a long day where, kind of like last week, we weren't very fast. But as a team, Miller Lite Ford and everyone on Team Penske worked really hard to get through it. And, you know, we just fought and didn't shoot ourselves in the foot any more than me driving the car, but came up with something with a top 10. We want more than top 10s. We need to be winning races, and we know that. But we're not in the worst of positions to go to Talladega. We need to have another solid day there.
The pit stall you were ultimately forced into, Brad, did that make any difference today?
Nah, I don't think so. It was a good storyline, but we weren't fast enough to, you know, hold the first through third or fourth positions for it to really pay dividends.
You won at Talladega before in a crucial moment. Can you do it next week?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, there's quite a few drivers that can win at Talladega. I think we're one of them. But we don't have to win. We just need to have a really good day. So that's important to remember.
That's the mindset going forward for Brad Keselowski.
He does need a really good day. He's only 7 points ahead of the cut line, and that means 7 positions. And 7 positions can be within 1/100th of a second when you go to Talladega. So we look at the unofficial results. Joey Logano, another win, an impressive win. And if I get my numbers right, his 5th win. And that ties what he was able to do a year ago as far as in a season. Ryan Newman, just outside the top 10, another one of the chasers. Kevin Harvick ending up a lap down. He was 16th, but further back in the field, another chaser that will be struggling and need to have a big finish when they go to Talladega next week. Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he's done it before. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been able to win at Talladega. He's won the last 2 restrictor plate races in 2015. Austin Dillon, after running in the top 5, ends up 41st today. Biggest story, we look at the grid with just 1 race to go in round 2. Joey Logano with 2 wins, continuing to close his competition out.
Well, the one thing we learned at Dover is no one but Joey Logano is safe. We remember Jimmy Johnson had a 27-point cushion going into Dover, had a mechanical problem, was eliminated from round 1. So even Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, while they look like the better cars in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 13 points, 13 positions, that can be 1 green-white checker at Talladega. So nothing is out of possibilities at this point. The one thing we do know, though, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth, 2 cars that mathematically may not be must-wins, but reality is one of those cars are probably going to have to win to advance out of round 2.
And remember Talladega last year, Casey Kane coming off turn 4 in the position to transfer into the next round. Between turn 4 and the start-finish line, he got passed by 3 or 4 cars. Went from being in the next round to being out. That's how quick things can change at Talladega.
Great crowd here at Kansas today. Jeff Gordon referenced the finish. Thought he was able to outdo the 2 of Brad Keselowski right at the end. This is how close it was for the 9th spot. Almost, well, it was a photo finish to finish for those 2, but Keselowski went all the way down to almost the grass to get the 9th position. And Jeff Gordon.
And will that 1 spot.
Hey, we saw
that
at Dover,
1 spot, Matt.
Jamie McMurray, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they tied for the bubble position. 1 point.
The position.
That's all they need.
And Kevin Harvick, a tough day for him. He was with Kelly Stavis just moments ago.
After running inside the top 4 much of the day, it was a pit road violation that hurt Kevin Harvick's day. That on top of the missing shifter handle there at the end. What will be your takeaway from this race here in Kansas?
We're lucky to come out of it as good as we did with our Budweiser Jimmy John's team. We didn't have a great weekend. A lot of things falling on and off, and now we got to go to Talladega and have a good week. So all in all, it could have been a lot worse, and everybody kept digging.
What was the challenge of the missing shifter handle there at the end of the race, particularly on those last restarts?
Just really hard to shift it from second to third, just because there was nothing to grab onto for leverage. But, you know, in the end, I mean, car vibrated all day, and lucky something else didn't break.
All right, Kevin Harvick now 5th in the chase standings.
Well, somehow Kyle Busch comes back to finish 5th. He told his guys, thanks for getting me back into it. At one point, you thought you had an engine issue and handling problems all day long. How did you guys get back into it?
We just kept fighting, kept trying to persevere through everything that was thrown at us. And guys did a really good job today. You know, I was trying to run the top like those guys and make speed up there like they were, and I slipped in the oil that was over there off of turn 2. I just didn't cut my exit enough off the corner, but I can't say enough about everyone on this team. This M&M's Camry was awesome today. Adam Stevens and the guys on pit road, they did a really good job repairing the right side and making some really good adjustments all day. I about got us behind there, but you know, then late in the going, I must have had an exhaust brake or something, you know, that just started laying down the power. But I was hoping it would just go green and we'd salvage a 7th, but with those restarts there, you know, we were able to get a 5th out of the thing. So real proud of a top 5 here at Kansas. And in case everybody wasn't sure, Halloween's coming up. Be sure to grab your M&M's products for Halloween and give out to all the little ones out there. So looking forward to my first Halloween with my son Brexton.
Overcoming a lot of obstacles today, Kyle Busch and his team finished 5th.
And the treats today being handed out to the 22 teams. Joey Logano